What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Sean, straight out of Bucktown, home of the original gun clappers, and welcome to the old school Friday. We're gonna have R&B and funk. We talking the music. We already busting out vinyls and we've been playing music backstage, but now we're gonna get into the discussion. Joining me right now, as always, Big Remo in here. What's going on?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me, Sean. Very
Yeah,
fun.
and I got my special guest today making the first time on my page. I got TiVo.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Glad to have you on, brother. Always been fucking with you for a minute. It's good to be on here, talk something, maybe comics, but you know, I love talking movies, music, comics, so let's get to it.
That's it, man. Then we got Stone Cold Steve.
What is going on, everybody? I hope you're ready for a good show. You're going to get one.
And I got my compadre, Dusty Brick Brown.
How is my other name?
Cheers to everyone. Hello, good to see you. Yes.
And I also have Matt. He is Eddie Murphy today, but don't matter. He's on the show. We're gonna have fun talking about old school music. Now, if y'all been on my channel, I did 2 previous music videos where we talk old school hip hop. You know, and me, Al, Matt, and Remo, we just shoot the shit and just talk about our favorite albums, what got us into hip hop, and you know what made the connection so strong. So with today, with old school R&B and funk, I'm gonna start off by talking about how I got into this music, and of course, I have to always say that my parents put me onto this music because they played it 24/7. My dad, most of these records are his. I got the Earth, Wind, and Fire album right here. And, you know, this made me a huge Earth, Wind, and Fire fan because I love fantasy. Like, that was one of my favorite Earth, Wind, and Fire songs. And then, you know, I listened to September, Devotion, Reasons. There was a lot of great music. And then, you know, Teddy Pendergrass, you know, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, you know, Cameo. My father played the hell out of Cameo. That was one of his favorite bands along with Parliament. You know, George Clinton. You know, there was a lot of great music. And then, of course, my mom, biggest Michael Jackson fan. She had all his records, all the videotapes that I watched Michael Jackson perform, concerts, videos. You know, even if Thriller creeped me out as a kid, I still enjoyed the fuck out of watching it. You know, and all this was something that it was ingrained to me as a young kid. And that's why I've said this on the hip hop shows, like all the music that I grew up listening to, I automatically knew the samples that they were using in hip hop because I was like, oh, I know that song. You know, they sampling Juicy Fruit. You know, when Biggie did Juicy, that's Mtume. You know, and all that music that I grew up with in the 70s and 80s, you know, even the 60s with the Temptations and the Four Tops. There was a lot of great music, and I feel like that music to this day still stand the test of time. You can listen to it and it still resonates with you. It still connects with you. It still sounds great. And in this era where music is not as strong for me personally, I always go back to the oldies and just sit back and listen to it. I put on some Barry White, the Maestro, and just vibe out, you know. And that's my origin, you know. I always like to thank my parents for playing that music 24/7. We had the radio on all the time in the house. So every time I came home from school, old school R&B is playing. Whether it's hip hop, whether it's R&B, whether it's funk, whether it's jazz, I listen to all that. And that's why my musical ear was just so strong that I'm so disappointed in myself that I'm not in the music business today. You know. Right. So, what's your guys' music origin when it comes to the R&B and funk? It goes to you, Remo.
Well, for me, I mean, TiVo could attest to this, being as that we kind of came up in the same area. I grew up probably about 8 blocks from a store called Rainbow Records.
Yep.
I had a record store in my neighborhood, so it was a record store and a 7-Eleven. So I would buy records, and if I didn't buy records, I would go to 7-Eleven. I'd buy comics. So depending on what comic was out that month, if I was reading it, it was either that or a 45. My dad always gave me $5, probably like $5. He worked at the Ford plant, So my dad would give me $5 and he'd be like, "This for lunch." And I'm a little kid. I'm just like, $5? Like, that's a lot of money. Like, that's all I get in a graham cracker and some milk. Like, $5. So
you didn't get that extra milk.
Yeah, so I go get with the money left over. I'd either go buy 45 or I go buy a comic. You know what I'm saying? So my mom always had records. She always had Earth, Wind, and Fire. She always had she would have the what do you call it? I just went blank. She'd have Earth, Wind, and Fire. She'd have the Gap Band, Cameo. She would have Patrice Rushen. You know, she would just. My mom was in tune. She went to high school with the Pointer Sisters, so she was always into. You know, she was always into music. You know what I'm saying? So growing up in Oakland, she was about the funk. You know what I'm saying? She had all the records. So for me to ask for records, it was nothing. You know what I mean? So she would be like, "Yeah, go buy whatever record you want." This is pre-rap, mind you. This is before rap was out. You know what I mean? So I came up before there was rap. You know what I mean? So this funk and R&B is like, that's what I came up on. You know what I'm saying? There was only 2 radio stations. It was either rock or R&B or AM radio, and that's what I listened to. You know what I mean? To this day, like in my car, I listen to Sirius 50. I don't listen to all the rap stations. I listen to the groove. That's it. You know what I'm saying? That's why when you see me post the videos, I'm posting videos listening to the funk.
That's it.
And then later when I started making beats and stuff like that, like you said, I already knew what the music was. At first, I didn't think it was. I thought it was hard. I was like, wait a minute, it can't be that easy. That's the same, you know what I mean? And start reading the liner notes, and I'm like, wait a minute, I got that record, you know what I mean? And that's how my progression went, you know what I mean? From that, I started to hear what they were doing, and I was like, wait, that's the same. I know how to do that, and it just kind of went with it.
Cool. TiVo.
Well, I don't want to assume that I'm the oldest person in here, but let's just say I'll be 50 next year. So I don't want to cast aspersions with anybody's age in the group, but so I grew up in the Bay Area just like he did. And before that, I actually grew up in DC and Houston. So I was always the only kid that wasn't black, either in DC, in Houston. And when I went to the Bay Area, it was either black or Hispanic. And if you hang out with gangsters of either age, they just listen to oldies. They listen to like, you know, cholos listen to like the more soulful ballad oldies. And then you had the brothers who were listening to like, especially on the West Coast, before G-Funk, we still had stuff like Zap and Roger, right? LTD, Lakeside, shit like that. It was more digitized. And I grew up right in the era of, right in the middle of being a B-boy. I learned to pop listening to Freakazoid. You know what I'm saying? So, I learned to pop right around 5th or 6th grade. And popping led to b-boying, which led, obviously to breakbeats. And breakbeats, once I started figuring out, I was like, yo, these go back to like really hard to find records. Before now you can just put your damn SoundCloud or whatever that app is that tells you what the name of the song is. Before then,
yeah, you had to figure that shit out.
Yeah, and then and on my channel, I started saying keep digging in them long boxes because it's derived from digging in the crates. Because when I moved from being a b-boy and popping, and I did graffiti. I did all the 4 elements of hip hop, right? I MC'd. I actually have a SoundCloud where I dropped like 32 bars. And in 1994, it was like that old school flow where it's wiggity, wiggity, stickity, stickity, and all that. And then when I started DJing is when I really started finding like old records, right? And I really got hooked on like really old funk, like The Meters, Fred Wesley and the JBs. The Jimmy Castor Bunch, right? That's like the hip hop, right? That's like the hip hop anthem. It's just begun by the Jimmy Castor Bunch. And then you think about older records like Apache and the Incredible Bongo Band, right? That's been, obviously Will Smith made it popular on that version of Apache by the Sugar Hill Gang. But before that, the original was like a b-boy anthem. People rocked to it. And then I started listening to a lot of I started digging. We had our DJ crew was called the Disciples of Funk. We wanted to go and find like old funk records and find the breaks and play them. And people are like, hey man, isn't that from? No, it's not from this song. This is the original. Get with it. So we would find like Brick, Gap Band, anything. I'm sure people in the Bay Area can attest to this. The same in LA. right around the 80s, it became of a more electronic funk, right? I mean, it started with Roger and Zapp. Everybody wanted to be the next Roger and Zapp. Lakeside, and then Cameo kind of went into that sphere. But I remember growing up listening to like what was that? Like Parliament Funkadelic. But what really got me into funk was Fred Wesley and the JBs, which was James Brown's band. And if you think about it, it had Bobby Bird, it had Maceo Parker, Bootsy Collins, Lynn Collins. All these guys kind of left the JBs. And the song, let me bring up the first prop of the night. So this is James Brown and his review live at the Apollo Theater, man. That's
right there.
If you follow anything about funk, you know about Bobby Bird, you know about Lynn Collins, you know they were all part of the JBs, and it was a group around for like 10 years. So the song that one of my homies' older brother used to get ready to go to a club, and we were like in junior high, and he always used to listen to Fred Wesley and the JBs. Gonna get funky tonight, and he would play that over and over, and they had that super long intro. Ladies and gentlemen, you are about to meet seventh wonder of the world, sitting on center stage are such young men brought you the hits as pass the peas, give me some. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the JBs, and then don't bum 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 bum, and I was hooked. And then after that, like Sean was saying, man, like to this day, I can't listen to anything past like 1999. R&B died in the 90s. True R&B died in the 90s. I mean, hip hop, forget about it. Mumble rap just killed it for me, right? I mean, it used to be you can get a record that would just make you feel good. It would be hip hop or R&B and make you want to dance. And nowadays, it's like, man, it makes me want to go take some pills and go lock myself up or something. You know, I don't. It's. I'm sorry. I just want. I'm telling all the kids, get off my lawn, man. That's all I'm saying.
Oh.
Well, I'm not gonna tell you no lies. When I got into music, my family or my household was like living where Footloose was set up at. I grew up in a family that was very religious, and anything aside from gospel music was considered the blues. It didn't matter what it was the blues. So I had to sneak and listen to stuff. And my first foray into like R&B was actually, I was probably around, it was around the time I was sneaking to watch the shows like Saturday Night Video, and man, USA had a show called Night Flight, because I actually started listening to a whole bunch of pop, 80s pop, and then it segued into R&B. And one of my cousins used to tape down here in Macon. He used to tape like they used to have a show, and the show basically they just played a whole bunch of 80s like R&B, like funk. Midnight Star was one of my favorite groups back then. No Parking on the Dance Floor, that was like the very first funk song that I actually heard. I'm like, man, this shit is funky, you know. And it just went from there, you know. Lakeside, the Daz Band, the Fatback Band, whatever band that you could find back then, because, you know, back then, jokers didn't care. They would posse up 10, 15, 20 deep, and they throw a name in front of band, and then there you go. So, you know, I mean, you think about it. I mean, a whole bunch of them was back there, man. My mind is so convoluted. Yeah, SOS Band, which is from Atlanta. Oh my
Rubber
God,
Band.
there was so many of them.
Fat Larry's Band.
So what, man?
Fat Larry's Band.
Yeah, you had them. But
the Average White Band.
Yep.
Now the Average White Band, man, them dudes were slept on, man, because them jokers, man, they made a lot of good music, man.
They
but
could play,
I mean,
they could straight play, man. All of them were great musicians.
Right, really great musicians, man. And I mean, of course, one of their biggest hits was one of Shaka Khan's biggest hits with oh God.
All I heard was baritone.
When the chips come down, what you gonna do for me? That's it. Yeah. So yeah, man. So I pretty much had to sneak and listen to it. And when I got older, like once I got into high school, I actually hooked up with the guy. His name is Kevin Tanner. He's a DJ. Well, he was a DJ, And he's a white guy, and he's one of my closest friends back then. And he came down from Atlanta, and the crazy part of it, he had people thinking he was from New York. First day of school, this dude had a coonskin cap on like Daniel Boone. No lie, no lie.
That was that LL Cool J look back then.
I promise you, because this is around like he came into our high school like in the 10th grade. So this is about 88. I'm up there with you, TiVo. I'll be 50 next year. But he came to school and people were like, who is this dude? He had on a fake gold chain. So automatically, okay, so this dude, he wrote black dudes and stuff. So basically we struck a friendship, and he was like a DJ. Like his dad had records. I went over to at the time he lived with his dad, and they had like a shit ton of records, like 45, 78s, 33s, the whole 9 yards. So it got to a point to where I would hang out with him. He would go over. He actually had a show on the radio here in Macon on WIBB, Matt. You remember when they used to do the rap stuff on the radio, and folks used to call in and curse and get knocked off the radio and stuff?
Yep.
They had people call in and rap. And as soon as like this one dude said something, and I remember I hope I'm not deviating, but this dude had a rhyme, and I remember it to this very day. He says, I write my name initial by initial, and I wipe my ass with toilet tissue. And when he said that, the dude on the radio was like, oh, you wipe your ashtray. Like, nah, that ain't what he said. He said what he said. But anyway, he was actually at one point, he had got so well known in the city to where he started doing radio shows. So I would go down there with him, and that's when I started getting more into R&B and funk and stuff. And he actually put me on to a lot of break beats and samples and stuff. And he was actually working on his own music. His stage name at the time was DJ Finesse, and I know there's another DJ Finesse, but he was cold with it. Jazzy Jeff was like one of his inspirations, so he did everything that Jazzy Jeff could do to the best of his ability. But yeah, man, that music, man, he put me on the funk, he put me on the jazz, he put me on to R&B. And it was like whenever he went to a record store, we had several record stores here in Macon. One was Habersham, and that's where all the LPs were. What's up, Monica? That's where all the LPs were. So we would go over there sometimes and just go through records, and I would buy a couple. And it got to a point where I'll actually buy him records because I just like to hear him just break a beat down, mix, scratchy, or whatever he did. But that's how I really got into it. I have to credit him because he opened up my eyes and ears to a whole different genre of music that I wasn't accustomed to at home. Because like I said, if it wasn't Andre Crouch or Shirley Caesar, it wasn't getting played in the house. So your situation, Sean, was the inversion of me. Because had Barry White been played in my house, boy, there would have been some holy water sprayed everywhere on the wall.
But you know what's a trip, though? Like a lot of gospel kind of went the road of bringing more funk and contemporary R&B into it. And when you think about like contemporary gospel, because before it was kind of preachy, but then they started saying, hey man, we can make this kind of maybe almost top 40ish, or maybe bring some funk into it. And but they're still talking about God, but they're just
without the curse words.
Hey, some of those bands when you see in these churches play, man, the drummer is going off. They got some. Yep. I went to work with a kid. He said, I used to play in my dad's church band. I said, oh, really? You ain't got nothing. He goes, and at that time, my brother, we lived together, and he was a musician. We had a drum set. And I said, what do you got? Let me see your chops. So he started playing the Morris Day and the Time, the 7779311 on the real drums. Okay, that is an actually programmed beat that is one of the hardest to cover.
Yes.
And this dude just started playing it. I was like, okay, all right, you're real. 7779311. All you kids out there, go listen to it right now.
Man, I posted that for Old School Sunday, and that is one of the difficult beats to ever listen. Like you listen to it, it's like, how the hell they actually came up with that drum pattern?
So there's a video on it. Yeah, when Prince got involved, and it's a used from a drum machine. And using a real hi-hat and a real snare on it. It's kind of crazy because one of the best things I like doing is actually watching people who try to cover it real, but it's impossible because it's a half drum machine, but some of people really get down on it. I mean, one of my favorite things to do is just search YouTube for drum covers to see, you know, and people just playing the drums. I mean, because to me, I'm a frustrated drummer, right? I started as a kid and I just like, I got 2 left feet. This ain't working out, you know. But, you know, I love playing the drums, and that's what always got me to the R&B funk was the drums. But sorry, man. Go ahead.
I'm going to say one thing. I'm going to pass it on to Steve. It's funny you said that, TiVo, because, you know, in learning what I know now about funk and R&B, a lot of these artists actually got their start in church.
Yep.
As musicians, as singers. I think Ohio players, all of them were like, I want to say it might have not been Ohio players, but it was one group that was famous back then. All of them came from preachers' kids, and they just got together and said, "Hey, we're gonna do funk instead of gospel." Yeah. You know, so yeah, it ties in together. You know, I'm a musician. I came out of church, and I could attest to that. So yeah, I mean,
Prince was cold on that Lynn 9000. I tell you though.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Cold.
The Lynn, that's right. Because once you get down a rabbit hole of drum machines, like first you started the TR-808, right? You're like, oh, what was before that? Then they started. The Lynn is that damn, when you hear a Prince song and you hear that weird drum that's in every Prince song for a while, for at least 10 years, it was from the Lynn drum that he was using that from. A lot of people don't realize that, what's his name? In the Still of the Night,
Phil Collins.
Phil Collins used 808s on that entire album, and he's a drummer. Because he's like, you know what? The 808 allows me to do things with drum beats that I can't do as a drummer. And right when he made that album, that was like, okay, it's okay for everybody to use, because a legit drummer is going and using a TR-808. So that's when it was like, you know.
The Lynn was pre MPC, because then he went to Akai, and then they made the MPC with his blessing. That Lynn 9000 drum pads are like that big, man.
Yep.
Those things are huge. It's like huge drum pads. So for him to be over there doing all that stuff on it, I'm just like, man, I was amazed. Once I seen how he did it or what he used to make it, I'm like, that dude's a genius.
Yeah, I was about to say, that just shows you the genius of Prince and his musical talents. The fact that he can play multiple instruments and produce beats like that just shows you that this dude was just 100% talented at everything he did. So, Steve, you're up, man.
Yeah, man. Well, I started out in the skating rink, man, and you wasn't gonna skate to none of that garbage rock and all that. So I went to a skating rink here called Stardust in Odyssey North and South, and man, they played all the old school. I was like, man. So I would just go and hear a song and then go, man, they might have more, man. When you go through a artist and you go, damn, man, he has so many songs. Sometimes you don't even hear all the ones, that are so good, man. But I mean, I started out with the Daz Band, the Gap Band. I loved them. I went and seen Midnight Star that Al was talking about. Damn, Al's gone.
Yeah.
I got to see Roger and Zapp. That was like one of my first concerts, man. I never seen so many people on a stage in my life as Zapp had on that stage. And they were passing joints around that place like it was no tomorrow, man. They was going up. They didn't care about nothing back then, man. But yeah, man, the skating rink, man, they used to play some good music back in our days, man. Gap Band early in the morning. We used to that, and then the Furious Five. We heard all of that, man, coming up.
But could you skate backwards?
It just got better and better.
Steve skate backwards. Sure.
But yeah, man, I had some Spanish guys that lived down the street. They came from New York, man, so they knew all about, they heard songs before they even got here. I think the songs in New York I don't know how far in advance they are, and in LA out in, on California, but they're definitely come out way before they get to here.
Yeah, the New York club scene they always drop them first in the New York club scene.
Yeah,
propagate throughout the country.
They came and they'd be like, "You haven't heard this? You haven't heard this?" Like Planet Rock, man. Man, we listened to Planet Rock like 50 times straight. We was like,
still do.
That's the song ever made.
Oh yeah,
50 times straight.
They played at night. I mean, you have to wait for it to come on the radio to record it.
Yeah.
Oh man, you used to hate it when the DJ be talking over the music.
Oh my God,
man.
that was the worst.
Still in my tape.
Yeah, man, you killing my tape, man. I got my damn tape. You talking all over it.
But I just realized they're taught to do that because they want to speak up until the lyrics start. Was if you listen to every song on the radio, they would talk until the lyrics start. They would never talk and then let the beat drop, right? That was something later on that happened when more like house music dropped, where the fucking intro was a good 30, 40 seconds of just beats, and then you would hear any type of chorus.
Yeah.
And you know what? The funny thing is about 30, 40-second intros and stuff. Remember those 12-inch extended versions? The songs be like 7 to 10 minutes long.
Oh, bro, I got like 100 of those still left over from when we used to DJ because that's all we bought. We didn't buy LPs. We bought 12-inch singles because that always had like the B-side instrumental or the dub mix or all these other ones.
777-9311. The extended mix of that is like 15.
Oh yeah.
Oh, man.
Yep. And those were made specifically for like clubs, because they know the club's gonna keep dancing to those songs and stuff.
Yep.
So
long intros and long outros. Good for mixing.
They had that long version of Rapper's Delight too with the extra lyrics. Well, that's
Lord have mercy. That song that's a good 8 minutes of your life right there.
Yeah, that was long.
Yeah, definitely.
Matt from Studio 54.
Yeah, man. Yep. So that term, TiVo, that you're talking about, I used to work in radio, and we call it hit the post. You talk all the way up until you like a few seconds before it hits, and no more. You talk anymore, you're asking to pull off the air. So, my foray, man, in the R&B and classic old school, man. I had an uncle, man. My uncle and my mom. My mom used to listen to music every Saturday while she cleaned the house. So I would always sit by the stereo as a kid and just listen to everything that played. So I just pretty much soaked up everything. One of the first artists, it was a couple of jazz artists that actually, I kind of worked backwards. I heard jazz and kind of went backwards to funk. Was Jeff Lorber, Paul Hardcastle, when Rainforest, 19, all that kind of stuff. And then I went to funk. So my uncle, I used to go to work with my uncle on Saturdays. So that's back when he used to have 8 tracks in the car in his El Camino. Yeah, and so I listen to stuff like the Barcades.
Oh, I love the Barcades.
Stuff like Confunction, Lakeside, 52nd Street. Trying to think of who else there, man. It's just a ton of people.
So much of.
It's just so many groups, man. And I'll tell you, I'm a music savant now. I know music, but it's so many groups out there. As a kid that I listened to,
Matt, they all were good.
Everybody, I'm telling you, man. It's like, but see, this is the thing, is that back then, in order to get a record, you had to bring your A game because you had to get the time to get in front of somebody, and then the people had to like your music. So it was like you got to get in front of somebody, you got to put together some music, you got to hope that it's critically received. And you got to hope that you can do it over a sustained period of time. Well, now, you just drop a song on YouTube and put Rihanna on it and it go platinum, So back then, it was completely different. But I grew up, I listened to all that. And then in the 80s, man, of course, we had Michael Jackson. We had Whitney Houston. We had Bobby Brown. We had, New Edition,
Prince.
Prince, that Minnesota sound. Alexander O'Neal was somebody I fell in love with as a kid.
Yes.
Yeah,
she's a fake.
Yep. That, Sherelle.
That's my jam, man. I tell you, Sherelle with the breakdancing gorilla in the video. Oh man,
man,
jam.
I love the extended cut of that song because of the synths and how Jam and Lewis they just upped it up. Like I listen to that song all the way through, and I just get intense because the beat is so riveting. I love that song.
For the kids that don't know, Terry Lewis, Jimmy Jam, part of the Minnesota sound. The guys that were actually part of the time, fuck with Prince. They helped develop New Jack Swing with Teddy Riley, and then Teddy Riley took New Jack Swing to a whole new level. I mean, that's just another offshoot of like R&B and funk is New Jack, New Jack Swing, as well as from DC with go-go music. That was that whole kind of sound that was, I don't know. Probably people from the West Coast probably don't know go-go music that well, but anybody from the East Coast down to the South probably heard about go-go music. And you think about, Doing the Butt by EU is probably the most popular one, right?
Yeah.
But that was, I'll take you a little bit further. If you think about what's his name? The producer that did Salt and Pepper and Kid and Play.
Herbie Love Bug.
Herbie Lovebug brought the go-go music sound into hip hop when he did early Salt and
Rolling
Pepper
with
and he
Kid.
did Kid and Play.
Rolling
If you
with
think
Kid
about
and Play.
Rolling with Kid and Play, that is a total go-go sound beat on that track, man. It's dope.
Yeah, what you call it, man?
When you said Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, though, SOS Band.
Oh,
yes. Hey, man, a lot of people don't know they did a cut for Human Nature.
Yeah, the human
I'm
song.
only human, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, you know.
The song that I was playing when I came on, from Change of Heart, that's Jam and Lewis.
Hey, you know, another group when I was back in the 80s, Hall and Oates, you know.
Oh,
yeah.
I can go for that. Yo, that beat is
I was on a shoot a couple of weeks ago, and so while we were doing the shoot, somebody that was playing Hall and Oates, and one of the guys looked at me and said, "Hey man, do you think that Daryl Hall, every time they got through, they just said, oh, that's $1 million?" Because every time you get through making an album, every damn song was a hit. Every song was a hit.
Yeah.
You know? And then, you know, in the 80s, you know, we had the advent of MTV. So the real MTV, MTV we all know, you know.
Music television. And so, you know.
Steve, you're muted.
And so, you muted, Steve.
Muted.
You're muted, Steve.
Hit your mute
Unmute your mic.
Damn, I said the Buggles. I remember the Buggles that radio killed the
video.
Yeah, that was the first video they ever played on MTV.
They used to play a lot of good music, and then it started getting crazy after a while. I didn't watch it after a while.
And so, you know, growing up listening to all of that, man, you know, it just kind of molded me to who I am. Now I'm more of a jazz head, but you know, a lot of music that I grew up listening to, and then being a hip hop head, you know, it just made it even better when you can go back and you hear the sample. Like when I'm riding with somebody and I say, "Oh man, you know where that sample come from?" They go, "No," and I go play it and they go, "Oh man, that's crazy." And I was like, "Yeah, man, you know, music is something that good music transcends generations. You know, this shit that we hear now won't go further than next week." But
well, I think, you know, I mean, it's probably off topic for this since we're not talking about hip hop, but I've always said that the death of hip hop as we know it is producers being broke as fuck, not wanting to pay money for samples, and using Pro Tools. Every Pro Tool song sounds the same. It's the same things that they pick. They're basically all using the same toolbox when they're making new music nowadays. And then they got an auto tune and all this shit. Back in the day, I mean, to be honest, most hip hop artists would try to get away with the sample first, right? And then they're like, shit, okay, we'll pay you for it, you know. But,
you know, T-Bo, you know, it's funny T-Bo brings it up, man, because there was a spat between, there's some guys, I can't think of their name now. They're in the UK. They were really big producers. It was 3 guys. I can't think it was JWT or someone, but they produced Princes. Because at that time, if you go back in history and look, at one time they said it was a royal court because you had princes, you had Prince, you had Michael Jackson, and you had Queen. They were all on the top 5 or some at one point. And so, but Princes had a cut called "Say I'm Your Number One." But if you listen to it and then you turn around and go listen to BBQ Genie, they almost sound alike. And so it was like he said, they would try to get away with a sample and see if they can pull it off back then. And what? Go ahead, Remo.
But then piggybacking off of what both of you guys said, when it came to the funk, you had to actually know how to play an instrument.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because you were playing on tape and you only had one shot. It wasn't no cutting. You know how much it was to cut those tapes? I used to work at a studio where I used to have to splice the tapes and edit the tapes for them. Man, you had to use a razor blade to cut the tape. It was a tedious process, man.
And that's where the term cut comes from.
Yeah, so you had to get guys together you had to put a band together first. You had to rehearse. You had to sound good. You had to have a sound. You had to record it, have enough money to record the song, and then get in front of the people and then start your journey.
And if you were trying to get in front of Prince, you had to be light skinned. I'll just
Stupid.
Be fine.
Alexander O'Neal come back to cut.
Whatever, man. So O'Brien and all them, Andre Simone, them did, huh? I'm gonna leave that alone.
Hey, O'Brien.
Hey, you couldn't see it. Hey, O'Brien got some cuts. Boy.
Hey, O'Brien.
Yeah, ain't knocking
Yeah.
O'Brien now.
Yeah. Oh man.
But you know, it's funny. Like our other countries take our stuff, and once we're done with it, they continue on with it, and they make it better, right?
Yep.
If you think about like from a hip hop head, you're tired of mumble rap. What's the exact opposite of it? Grime, where they just chopping bars like hella fast. And I was, believe it or not, I was peeping this Ed Sheeran R&B grime track where it's called "Take Me Back to London Town," and he has like 3 grime rappers on it, and it is sick. It's like better than most R&B or hip hop songs that are out right now. And it's Ed Sheeran, and you wouldn't think Ed Sheeran. I was listening to a story. When Ed Sheeran first came to Hollywood, he stayed on Jamie Foxx's couch for like 6 weeks.
Yeah, I heard that too.
So the story was, Ed Sheeran was trying to come up, and Jamie Foxx was like, at the time he had this big house. He's like, hey, if you come through, I got a studio. Let's see what you got. So the story was, Jamie Foxx had this show in LA, like at a club, where it's like it's like a showcase for artists, right? So he said, these are his words on it. He goes, it was blacker than black in there. Ed Sheeran was like a white speck of salt inside of a sea of darkness, right? So they had all these artists come up, they were playing R&B, they were playing funk. And then Ed Sheeran walked up there, and one of them came up to Jamie Foxx like, who is this guy? Come on, man. Why are you doing this like that? And Jamie Foxx goes, just give him a minute. And then 6 seconds later, or 6 minutes later, standing ovation. Ed Sheeran is that kind of, that's why I say, like, cats in the UK, they took hip hop, they made it their own. R&B, if you remember, what's that thing? Return of the Mac? Isn't that dude's from the UK too? But that's one of the dopest. I think that came out in like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, it's about 95.
Yeah, but that's still one of the dopest beats ever, right? I think it was a sample of Genius of Love that he took, and then he put some vocals over it. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the newer R&B tracks that I still fuck with.
It's also a sample
Mark
of
Morrison. There you go.
It's also a sample of Chucky Booker. Game.
Why you wouldn't play your games? Yep.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Chucky Booker, man. Chucky Booker, he built Bad Boy off that song, that one song.
Hey, man.
That's how Bad Boy started.
I'm gonna tell you somebody else. I'm gonna tell you another group that's from the UK, man. That a lot of people don't even know, man. Loose Ends are from the UK.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people don't know that.
That song used to bump hard as hell, man, by Loose Ends.
It's a guy that came out. Go ahead, Sean.
When it comes to Loose Ends, like they were like the early version of Neo Soul before Neo Soul really blew up. Like they really introduced elements that we saw later on with Erykah Badu and D'Angelo and stuff. I always look at Loose Ends as the 80s Neo Soul, and then it grew in the 90s.
Yeah.
Now go ahead, Al.
No, I was gonna say it's another group. A guy that's in UK that I listen to since the early 90s, and his name is Omar. And a lot of people don't know anything about this guy, but he's actually worked with a lot of people over here, man. But he has his solo album is called For Pleasure. Man, it was one of the best albums because it's like a funk, R&B, and then it's experimental, like all mixed into one. He's got about maybe 10, 15 albums thus far, but his first CD, man, was just phenomenal, man.
But the UK is so heavily influenced by going all the way back to the blues. If you think about the Beatles and Eric Clapton and all these cats that are playing guitar, they learned off of like Muddy Waters and all these great blues artists, right? And then if you think about it, when they got hip hop, they're like, oh, we got to take this. The cats in the UK dubbed the term electro for what we were listening to at the time called hip hop, which is like Planet Rock and Clear, Cybertron, all the really kind of, later on we segmented into like Detroit house or Detroit or Chicago techno, but technically the Brits called it electro first, and then we later on called it electro funk. Like if you think about all the stuff we grew up like, Egyptian Lover and all the things that were like the specific sound, especially because you think about Planet Rock was a sample of Kraftwerk, right? They totally stole Trans Europe Express and just made their own. Yeah.
Because that's another group that my father loved was Kraftwerk. Like he had like
really
albums
ahead of their time.
And Trans Europe Express was like one of my favorite songs when he played. So when I heard Planet Rock, I'm like, I'm hearing Trans Europe Express. I'm hearing Kraftwerk in there, and people forget like early hip hop was sampling a lot of those songs from the 70s to make it their own.
Kraftwerk was a group that that was clearly 50 years ahead of that time.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
when you go back and listen to that stuff, you're like, man, how on earth back then did y'all put all this together? It's crazy at how music works.
But then also, like what Tivo was saying, though, going back, a lot of the black R&B and funk, they had to go and tour Europe because they couldn't tour here.
Jimi Hendrix, the best example that blew up in the UK.
All got their start touring in Europe, so they know better than we do how all of them sounded for years. You know what I mean? Because no one.
Let's be honest. It's because we were still a segregated nation. I mean, they can go over there, and the Brits were like, "Hey, we just hear music. We don't see color."
Yeah. And I was going to bring that up. That your career could be done in America. Like you have your fame, and then it just taper off because the record industry are done with you, or they move into a new direction. Like how New Jack Swing really came out and took over R&B with the mixture of hip hop and R&B, and it had that new dance element to it. So you had acts like Alexander O'Neal and them were irrelevant into the new eyes of the younger generation, but they still relevant in the UK and Europe. They can go over there and sell out instantly. They had a second career in Europe because the Europes love their music and they continue to support them. Whereas America, once you're done, the record industry just throw you out like trash.
Well, I mean, if you also think about in the UK, they really made reggae popular again because they turned it into second wave ska, right? If you think about the Untouchables, Madness, and all these groups, they were basically taking old Jamaican tracks or ska records and then speeding them up, and then you had the kind of the ska explosion in the 80s. But back to the UK, it's so interesting because there's I don't know to say a brand, but a type of music in the UK called Northern Soul, which was influenced by R&B groups of the 60s, right? So they think about the Motown sound and the Funk Brothers, what they did. And Northern Soul gave birth to acts like Adele, Amy Winehouse, all these singers that are soulful crooners, and they grew up listening to Northern Soul. There's a whole bunch of Northern Soul records that never made it to the US, but are still big in the UK, and it's really, and if you listen to it, it sounds kind of Motownish, but it's a little bit funky, but it has a UK aesthetic to it. But I just go on to YouTube and put in Northern Soul, and you go down a rabbit hole of some great music.
There was a movie about that, Tivo. I
think it was a movie that came out in the UK.
UK guys, and they all were singing the Motown songs. And they were looking for singers. I mean, it was a good ass movie. I can't remember it. I gotta look it up. It was real good.
Piggybacking off of what you said, Sean, about people getting that, having to go overseas. That's how Will Downing made it in the industry because Will Downing couldn't get any play here in the United States. So what he did was he went to the UK and sung covers, and that's how he took off. A lot of people do that, man. I mean, even now, our jazz musicians, they stay overseas because there's a larger appreciation for music. And another point that was brought up too, what you brought up too, and I tell this to all younger heads, because when if you go somewhere like a supermarket or whatever, and you hear anything that came out of the 80s and back, everybody's singing it together. Everybody knows the song. Everybody knows the lyrics to it. And so a lot of times young people will say, well, how do you all know that? That's a white folks song. And I go, no, it's not. I said, back when we grew up, everything was on the same radio station. You heard Hall & Oates. You heard George Michael. You heard Wham. You heard all these groups. You heard Shaka Khan. You heard Stevie Wonder. You heard Michael Jackson. They were all on one station.
On Q105 here.
Remember that video of that old man, the black old man that was sitting on the outside with everybody, and he started singing just Bon Jovi.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then everybody joined in.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's the power of music. That Just Like a Prayer was such a great song that when one person started, it sets off a chain reaction and everybody jumps in on it.
Yeah. I mean, Duran. I mean, people, you start singing stuff and everybody's like, oh man, that you start going back in time, man, because that's when everybody listens to everything, man. It's like you said, I hate music. Music is segregated now, but it back then, man, it was just it was really good times. And when you listen to that music, it was a good time. you can remember just like it was, music was uplifting, you know.
Squid in it.
And so now you know it's depressing as hell.
Yeah, but like when you bring up Duran Duran, or Wham UK, Kajagoogoo,
Yep.
I would tell you all these things have in common is they had some really funky bass lines. They were actually slapping bass on these records, and you're like, wait a second, did I just hear that? And is Duran Duran slapping bass? Is Kajagoogoo really slapping bass? And so they all take a little bit of that funk and R&B and they put it into their songs, and you're like, whoa, look at that. That's kind of cool.
Yep. You know, just like house music, man.
Yep.
The most funkiest Wham song, and I've tested this out because I got 2 12s in my car, was Everything She Wants. If you listen to Everything She Wants on a nice there, man, that song knocks, man. It's like
there's another one too. It's called it goes, "Hey sucker, what the hell's got into you?" And it's got that. It almost has like a La Funk. It's got like a Nigel Rodgers like guitar riff on it, and it's called "Death by Matrimony." And this before we knew he was how he was, but we didn't care. The music was good, right? I mean, we didn't know he was talking about his partner, over there. But it was a song called "Death by Matrimony," and he actually raps on it. One of the earliest pop songs that had bars on it, which is pretty interesting for the time. And this is like the early 80s, man.
Yeah,
Matt, don't tell me that Al got an 88 Monte Carlo Super Sport.
No, I got a 2010 Volkswagen Jetta, man.
He's sitting right next to a Deuce. He's sitting right next to a Deuce and a quarter with 220s in.
I got 2 12s in the back.
But you know what, man? You know, we talk about R&B sounds and stuff like that, man. You know, that's when Mr. Fingers and them start introducing that stuff in the house too. That's what start setting the house moving off, man. Is they take those R&B cuts.
Well, I mean, house music came from black music. It was all from Chicago and Detroit, and then it morphed into whatever EDM is now. But come on, I mean, house was soulful. When Jungle Brothers first made, that hip house song, right? People are like, what is this? Yeah, but then you go any farther, like Acid House that was my shit right there, man. If you ever look up that song, This Is Acid, and you go to a club in 1991, and people were just dancing till 4 or 5 a.m. Maybe they were a little high on a little something, but it was, man.
I think house music gets a bad rap because I think it's associated with a specific culture that everybody might not agree with, but it's good music. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, it's guys like Steve Aoki who just destroyed it, right? If you think, like, the last really good house was what was considered French house. French house was what they call disco or funky house, right? Basically, it's just a continuation of disco, and they put a 4/4 house beat on it as opposed to a 4/4 disco beat on it. Yeah. But like, if you think about in the mid '90s when it really started happening, where you had like this kind of it was a cat it's the same thing that happened with R&B artists. It was a cat that was a DJ from New York, but made it big in Europe. Because techno was blowing up in Europe at the time, but here it didn't get that much play. Man, damn it! Now I gotta look it up. Damn it!
Yeah, man, that happened to Cheap Trick too, Devo. They had to go over to overseas because they were kind of dying down here, and man, they love them there, man. When you
can go to Europe and get a whole new.
They said they got a new lease on life by going over there.
Yeah, a lot of them do.
Was they had a few songs and then they had
they tour 10 months out of the year.
Go look at some of those old ticket sales where Michael Jackson was going over to Bucharest and all that place, man. Go look at the numbers. You'll see.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that an R&B artist was selling out stadiums, right? I mean, that's something you think of like rock bands because the sound is so big, and you think of Michael Jackson, he's known for pretty much lip syncing and dancing. Let's be honest, he didn't sing live all that too often later on.
He's selling out soccer stadiums, 110,000, 120,000.
Yo, you had little white girls passing out for him. That was crazy. He would walk by and they would just pass out.
I said, might be standing on stage for an hour and a half before you.
I'll never forget the first live I saw Michael Jackson. I think it was around the early 90s where he just came out and stood there for like 10 minutes. And fuckers was passing out. They were just cheering. They were just I'm like, Michael Jackson ain't sung a damn song, and you got people fainting. I'm
Hey,
like,
man.
you already gonna miss the whole show because you don't passed out. They carrying you out.
That girl, the homegirl, looking at him like, look at this bitch.
Let me tell you the story, man. So I was watching a video probably about a year or two ago, and they were talking about when Mike came out of the Super Bowl. And so they said first, everybody at the Super Bowl was in awe because it was Michael Jackson. And so when he came out and he did his little routine, when he stood there, they was just like, well, what is he gonna do? They didn't know what he was gonna do. They were like, what is he gonna do?
This
And
fool
then
stood there for like 10 minutes, man.
what he was doing was Mike was just getting the crowd rolling, just ready to go. And then they were like, well, you gotta wait. And then finally Mike was just like broke it. You know, he did a little move, and then that's when everything hit, man. Yeah. I remember that shit like it was yesterday, man. I was just like, dude, you see this? The man is standing there and had moved, wind, and just standing there, just.
I don't think people even understand how popular
Him
Michael
and
Jackson
Prince,
was
man.
going across the world, man.
Him and damn Prince.
No, they have no idea.
It was crazy.
There was no internet back then either. This is straight off just
no,
like
no
MTV.
social media, no none of that.
Yeah, it was
I
crazy.
remember watching a video of him performing, and he pointed at a girl, and you would swear this dude knew witchcraft, because as soon as he pointed at her, she started convulsing and passed out. Like
9 months later, she had a baby. Shit.
and that is the story of Billie Jean. Yeah.
Hey man, so I'm gonna tell you somebody else, man, that gets flown under the radar. We talk about R&B, and I was just yesterday. I was on a trip riding back from work, and James Ingram, man.
Yes.
Yeah, James Ingram gets tossed to the side. I'm like, man, if you go listen to Yamo Be There, especially if you watch the video, to see who all produced that stuff was insanity. Quincy Jones, Michael McDonald, James Ingram, Rod Templeton.
Yeah,
I mean,
Rock Temperton was good as hell from Heatwave.
Michael
He
McDonald
he was
redid
the
it, and then it
keyboardist.
was like, that's his song now.
yeah, you shit with that voice, man. Michael McDonald, man. He just.
Remember the 40-year-old virgin? If I would hear Yamo Be There one more time, Yamo burn this fucking place down.
Yeah, man.
And he jumped on that Fender Rhodes and was like, "This."
Didn't James Ingram sing just once? Didn't he sing
Yep.
just once?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I don't know if anybody here ever listens to now we always talk about over here R&B. One thing over the last couple of years that I've been doing a lot more of is I've gotten invested into listening to Japanese R&B. I know that sounds crazy, man, but Japanese R&B in the 80s was absolutely fucking amazing. Yeah. And it sounds really good, really, really good stuff, man. And so if you ever get a chance to listen to like some old R&B stuff, I'll tell you, if you need it, I'll get it to you. But it is really, really good stuff.
And it's funny, in Japan they have some really great musicians. Like there's a ska band I follow called Tokyo Ska Paradise. And they sell out coliseums, but they play like ska music and a little bit of rockabilly and jazz swing, because it's like a 20-piece band, and it's absolutely incredible. But then I was thinking about what you were saying, Matt. Like I remember listening in the 90s, listening to French music, and I think they're called Les Nubians, the two sisters, twins, and they were coming out with some really nice like almost a throwback to Sade, because Sade was just she wasn't the hot, but when this came out, it's got to be like the early 2000s when I think they were called Les Nubians, and they sounded absolutely refined.
They made her come out of retirement. They made Sade come back out of retirement. That's
man, speaking of Sade, man, I mean that was another one, man, that I fell in love with, man.
Oh man, her voice is magical, man.
Yeah, I mean Sade, man. I always tell folks that's my wife, man.
Crazy thing.
She don't know it yet, but she about to get pregnant. Yep.
The one thing I like about go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
Al, the bands you're talking about, the ones that are versatile, like Tivo said, you got one guy can sing and you got another guy can sing, and man, they can go a lot of different places, man. You don't have to have just one guy. He's the front man, like Van Halen.
Yeah.
That's the Commodores and Earth, Wind and Fire. It had multiple lead singers.
Yeah, it's like the Temptations.
The Whispers.
Everybody can.
Oh man, the Whispers.
Yeah, the Whispers. You got everybody that can sing, man, and you can really do some different stuff with them different voices, man. All right, Al, go ahead.
No, what I was gonna say is like with Sade. Sade is one of the few artists today that that actually produces an album like most artists used to back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. She takes her time with it. You know, nowadays you can see an artist, they'll put out an album in February and then they got another album coming out in mid-June. With Sade, she'll go through, and I saw an interview with her and she says she goes through life experiences. She uses those life experiences in order to produce her material. And sometimes it may take a process. And that's another issue, going back to something that TiVo said, that you don't see nowadays in modern music, especially R&B, is that they're looking more so at money in reference to that quick hit instead of putting out meaningful content and meaningful music that's going to be timeless. Like all six of us could probably come up with at least 10, 15 songs off the rip that 15, 20 years from now, people are still going to vibe to them. Before I Let Go by Frankie Beverly and Maze, that song is never going to die.
Never.
You know what R&B is out today, man. R&B today is the equivalent, and I know Remo and Shauna for to eat this shit up when I say it. There's the equivalent of John Cena. Those 16 world titles will not be acknowledged. So Sade comes out with 10 with over a span of 40 years now. 10 albums. That's quality. She can drop an album next week, and you know it's platinum before it even get out. Anita Baker's another one that it take you have to wait. They make you wait for quality music.
And we missed that farewell tour.
I am too, man.
But I think it's because the record companies nowadays, they're like, look, this is the age of instant gratification. You know, we ain't got time for you to go through.
Hurry. Rush.
Yeah, the process of, I don't know if you guys, but I'm a big fan of the Foo Fighters, right? I absolutely love the Foo Fighters. They've been doing that in my account. They are the greatest rock and roll band still touring right now that's relevant, right? I mean, they play true rock and roll. And they had this documentary on HBO where they went to different historical recording studios throughout the country. Like one was in DC, one was in Nashville, one was in Oakland. They went all over because they wanted to pay, respect and homage to the artists that did, regardless of what their music genre was. And they wrote their song while they're at that studio. And that was their last album they did. And they did this incredible HBO documentary about it. And if you ever listen to Dave Grohl talk, he talks about how he's influenced by blues and R&B and everything. And you think, it's this crazy dude from Nirvana. No, but he writes all the songs. I mean, hell, he's the lead singer and plays rhythm guitar now. And he used to be the damn drummer of Nirvana. I mean, that's just one of the things where you have to dabble in a little bit of everything. Like back in the day, Another One Bites the Dust by Queen was on what they called the adult contemporary R&B top 10, right?
Yep.
And, because of the beat on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to touch on two things. Like going back to Sade, sometimes I have to correct people that Sade is a group.
It's the group.
It's a band. A bunch of musicians. That's what made Sade stand out the most. Like she was the lead singer, but all of them put in work when it came to.
I'm pretty sure Sade is French for 5-inch forehead. Let me think about it. But hey, that's the finest forehead I ever seen. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Sexy forehead.
And then I also wanted to touch on the albums. Look at Stevie Wonder in the 70s. Look at the quality of albums that he put out at that time. People consider Stevie Wonder's work in the 70s one of the greatest pieces of musical work ever. And that he took his time, especially after the accident he had suffered, and he came out and delivered those classic albums that still stand the test of time. That is what we expect from musicians.
The greatest albums ever. Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of help me out here.
Songs in the Key of Life, and
one of the greatest. I Wish is still my go-to when I want to get hype. You know what I mean? That song when you hear it, bum 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 bum, and interesting fact, he wrote that and played the instruments on that song. Yep. So the guitars, the drums, everything on that, Stevie Wonder did that. That's incredible.
Yeah, he put in work.
Me and my wife went and seen him maybe about 5 years ago, and he was playing on stage, and his son was playing drums, and his daughters were singing background for him.
Hey, Sean.
Yo,
like, this dude.
Fun fact. Sweetback. They played with Amir Lario. Mario. I forgot what name of that track was she did back in the 90s. Al, you know what I'm talking about?
Look into the sky, something.
Yeah, yep. So
Yeah.
Sade's band actually they helped out Mario on her first debut album. But I was going to say this too. We talk about
Before.
funk and everything, man. A lot of people, Roy Ayers, Herbie Hancock.
Oh yeah, we haven't even brought up Herbie Hancock yet.
Yep, these are guys. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's it. I was just going to say the album. Yep, that's
Boy,
it.
that is a classic.
That is a
Ubiquity.
World class album right there, man.
With bees and trees and flowers.
Everybody loves the sunshine.
Yeah.
That song has been sampled so many times. Like I can immediately spot the Sunshine sample.
Barry White.
Barry White.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, man. That dude.
Well, see, back then instrumentation was everything. Because I mean, we talked about the bands, but see, another thing too we didn't talk about was that a lot of those bands, man, when they got together and they decided they wanted to be professional, they were hungry. So they knew they had to come correct. If they didn't come correct, they knew they were going to be by the wayside. That's why we see so many dope, great bands from the 70s and 80s, because they knew, hey, man, the Ohio Players, man, they just dropped an album. And, this is Cool and Gangster, man. Well, what can we do? Man, let's go ahead and get in the studio and mix this song, Summer Madness, down. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, they had to do right. Sly and the Family Stone. We even talk about them.
Yeah,
so, I mean, it was just so much.
Tower of Power.
Oh yeah, straight out of Oakland.
Oh man, the Tower of Power, love them, man.
Those horns, man.
Yep.
But I was saying, a lot of the great musicians weren't even part of a band. Like a lot of single acts, they had some of the greatest session players ever.
There it is.
Rudy Ray Moore.
Dolomite.
Oh, he's back.
I want my money tonight.
that one Dolomite.
What you call that? Was
you no business born insecure motherfucker.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of which, did you guys hear the new Bootsy Collins that dropped?
No.
Just dropped like a week ago. I posted on my Facebook. It's Bootsy Collins with Larry Graham playing bass and some young cat on vocals, but it's straight up funk. You guys pull it up right now.
Check that out because I like me some Larry Graham.
That's another group, Graham Central Station. We didn't even talk about them.
Bootsy Collins.
And that's the thing though, like you were saying, how they were hungry, the bands were hungry. They also wanted to kick each other's ass on stage every night.
True.
Yep.
They didn't want to be they wanted to make sure that they let you know they was the best band on that stage. So whoever was opening, they went, like they said. I was watching that Tales from the tour bus.
Yeah, I love that.
And Rick James band member, he said we kicked their ass, we kicked Prince ass every night.
Hey man, what you call it? Not only that, Remo, but if you was New Edition, y'all was kicking each other ass every night. All the fucking time.
Crawling in the dressing room, huh?
Oh, also, man, if we're gonna talk about Parliament and the JBs, we got to bring up the funky meters. You got to bring up the meters because I think that was the Neville Brothers. The meters were one of the most sampled groups in hip hop. If you think about Parliament or James Brown, it's also the meters, along with the Jimmy Castor bunch and all these kind of bands that just came out of nowhere. But the meters are right up there with the JBs when it came to like playing just pure funk, man.
Southern funk, that Southern Louisiana.
Yeah, they're from New Orleans, weren't they? I think they're from New Orleans. Yeah, because the Neville Brothers.
So, so when we talk about like Bootsy Collins and guys like that and stuff like that. Now, Al, this is our claim to fame, being down here making. We can say it. Little Richard, the architect of rock and roll, who sung in the choir with my grandmother, who I have the photo in the living room. I have the photo when he sung it out. He sang it out of church. But guys like that, paved that way, man. There's a lot of people don't know, man. James Brown, all these guys, started right down here making, playing in groups like that, and then it expanded. Then you go from James Brown to when you start dealing with Maceo and all these guys. And then everybody was all intertwined with everybody. Bootsy Collins.
It had to be, yeah. I think even before that, I think the Funk Brothers, part of Motown, putting that sound together, right? I mean, if you think they were the session musicians for every Motown song, that's incredible. Think about that.
Yep. And then
didn't get a dime. Didn't get a dime.
Nope.
And
so
even get the recognition. You didn't even know who the Funk Brothers were until way later. They never even mentioned.
one of the
And when
one of
they
the
left, that's when Rick James came, and he was the Funk Brothers by himself.
yep. One
So,
one of the things too that was when you look at these old bands, it's the amazing thing to watch, especially if you're watching the band that's from the 70s going into like the mid 80s, was to watch the change and how they adjusted
Yes.
to the music.
Yes.
You know, like the
Exactly.
Whispers, classic
Yeah.
example of a group that started out one way and fit right into the matter of fact. When was that? What year did that song come out? Get You in the Mood. That was what
Probably
what
about
year?
88, 89.
89. I know it had to be like right at the 90s, man. It was right on the cusp. And so, you know, they were one of those groups that could just switch it up and go and still
Man,
remain relevant.
like I could still listen to Keep On Loving Me. Like that's one of my favorite Whisper songs. I mean, I love Rocksteady and stuff, but that video, that the vibe of the video and the music,
but them
you
just
know,
walking around.
yeah, it's just you just vibe the hell with it, and it just puts you in such a great mood. I remember the video that they did a parody
I
of
love
it.
that video, man. Hey, I actually did on Instagram. I was like, I used to do these things like how I roll into my LCS on New Comic Book Day, and I used that video with them. That he pulls out the newspaper. He's like, "All right, let's go," and you know,
Going to get my Robin King 25.
That book should whatever. Hey man, but that song should be the actual theme song of life. Because that song, Keep On Loving Me, is just like
yeah.
if you listen to that song and you don't tap your foot or do something like this, then you have no soul. You know
But what? Back to what Matt was saying about a band that we haven't really talked about that really started funky and then they grew with time and they were next thing you know they're a pop band in the 80s. It's Cool in the Gang. If you think about Jungle Boogie and how raw that was, and then they're singing these kind of poppy love ballads in the 80s because you know, but they stayed relevant.
Yeah.
Cool in the Gang.
Yeah. And they still had some funky joints in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
But they changed their style, but they kept it funky with some hits.
Yeah.
And then another band we didn't talk about was the Isley Brothers.
Oh yeah,
That's
man.
what I was trying to
Footsteps
think
in the dark.
About the Brothers Johnson, man.
Yeah, we didn't get the
Strawberry Letter 23, one of the best guitar solos ever, man.
The
I love it.
Blackbirds, man. The Blackbirds.
The Isley Brothers made me love bass. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they used to slap that bass, man. Them,
Yeah.
man, you know what I'm saying?
Larry Graham, the Godfather, of slapping bass,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, man. I love that, you know? And like I said, you know, growing up here in the Bay Area, like, they played all those bands. Like, my friend, his uncles are in Confunction, you know what I'm saying? I used to work with Zebulon Harrell. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, the Bay Area used to have a station called KSOL. Played nothing but soul and R&B, man. Nothing but soul and R&B on KSOL.
Long. That's it. And it turned into our hip hop station KMEL, but it was the same thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was like we out here, they just played that music. You know what I mean? Like it was a part of our fiber.
You touched on something with the radio station and how they turned it into a hip hop station. That was the theme in the late 80s into the 90s where hip hop was gaining more momentum.
Yeah, they had to switch over the formats.
Yeah, all the true R&B stations, they were struggling because now you have other stations that were playing predominantly hip hop, and the fans are switching over there because they want to listen to that new hip hop, you know, that something that's to the times. And the break show on VH1, I wish they brought that back, but that highlighted perfectly the struggles of an R&B station. They wanted to maintain that status quo of R&B. We don't want to play that hip hop because we want to stick to traditional R&B. But hip hop kept gaining more and more momentum. People like, are y'all gonna play Public Enemy? Y'all gonna play Boogie Down Productions? Exactly. And the R&B station saying no. But eventually they got forced into doing it because they kept losing viewers. And I remember when Hot 97 was created.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, Hot 97 was created. And I remember, look, I'm putting on Hot 97 because as much as I love the R&B, they got Wu-Tang on there. You know, they got.
The funny thing about that is the R&B station here was called KBLX, right? And they would play I Like the Way You Move, but they wouldn't play Big Boy's verse. I'm like, that's his song.
It's the same with the Kanye West song.
Like, how you gonna play his song and you're not gonna play his verse? You're only gonna play Sleepy Brown say, "I like the way you move." The whole song. It's like, come on, bro. Like that's like a slap in the face. Don't play the song.
Yeah, Sean. Sean, I was gonna say, man, you was like right there in the thick of it when R&B was flipping over to hip hop. You
Yeah.
were right there in the thick of it.
Because we grew up listening to 98.7 Kiss FM, and they were strictly R&B.
What was the brother that was the DJ up there that just passed away? Maybe about 4 or 5 years.
I think
years
DJ
ago.
Mr. Magic was on BLS.
Yeah, I think that's him.
You know, of course, you had Red Alert, who's
Frankie
like
Crocker.
forever immortal.
Yeah, Frankie Crocker was on there.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
Bay Area, we the first hip hop show was the Wake Up Show with
Yeah, Wake Up
MC
Show.
Sway, DJ King Tech. But I'll show you Remo my real age. So in the early '80s, there used to be a crew called Kevy Keb and the Members Only Crew. They used to be on a radio station got a Stanford. You had to go all the way down your dial. 90.1, and on Sundays between like 4 and 6 p.m. they would play hip hop, and this was like, man, this I must have been like in 6th grade, ready to record, and they were playing all this like early hip hop stuff. Like, you know, back then the Bay Area was still on that electro trip, right? We were all Egyptian Lover, let's bump this, bump that, and, you know, Planet Rock. But the true, like the hip hop that was coming out was still like that early Kid and Play stuff, like sounds like that sample, right? And then this is way before Beastie Boys, way before. This is like 82, 83. And this is when we still had KSOL, which was playing predominantly R&B. And then they had Michael Erickson was the first DJ to do the noon mix. And he would start sprinkling in these hip hop songs. And then Cameron Paul, rest in peace, the great Cameron Paul, took over from Michael Erickson and started turning it all out. Bay Area has some of the best DJs on the radio at the time, because I had moved to LA and somebody sent me tapes from New York. I said, that's cool, but listen to what these cats in the Bay Area. Michael Erickson, for those who dealt with the reel-to-reel, used to mix records and record them using reel-to-reel, and he was able to do mega mixes because he'd take the reel back over again and record another track. So he'd have like 3 tracks playing at the same time, and that was where really the Bay Area started blowing up. Then you had like, you know,
we had all the best DJs. You know, we had the best DJs out here.
Yeah, Invisible Scratch Pickles. We're talking Qbert, Mixmaster
like,
Mike.
Before even getting into that, like, dude, we had Theo Mizuhara. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Here,
On the radio, yeah. KMEL used to get down, man. KMEL back in the day used to get
them,
down.
You know, they started here, and then, like you were saying, like all those on KZSU, like in my neighborhood, we had this guy. He had moved from New York. His name was DJ King Shamik, and he was in. I don't know if you remember that group Twin Hype.
Oh yeah,
I remember Twin Hype.
He was.
They were like a hip house.
Yeah, he was there. Okay, so he started here. So like all the stuff that like they would play on KZSU Stanford, he would have that. He would already have all that stuff. You know what I mean? Because he still has his ties to New York. So a lot of stuff he would give Kevy Kev. Like Kevy Kev was getting his stuff from him. So like Kevy Kev is still doing it. He's still on there.
You see him on YouTube every now and then. You know what's funny is like they don't on the radio. You just don't hear mix shows anymore. Like if I listen to what is that? Now it's Rock the Bells Radio. Rock the Bells Radio will have some great DJs on there just doing like, you know, an hour sets and this. But you used to hear that on radio stations. Now, I don't change my car from Sirius. I don't go fuck with FM, AM, none of that. I don't go on there at all. It's just trash, all trash.
Yeah, it is, man.
I listen to the 80s. I listen to the Groove, and then I'll listen to Shade 45 every now and then.
I also like the vinyl one with like classic rock from like the 60s and 70s. I love that shit, boy. Give me some Boston and give me some Kansas any day, man. Come on.
Hey, Sean, I got two women that we haven't brought up today. We got Patrice Rushen.
Yeah. I love her.
And I got a wild card for you, Rochelle Farrell.
I got a real card for you, Tina Marie.
I'm gonna bring
Lady T.
Yeah, man.
Who you say, T?
Who'd you say, Steve?
Denise Williams, Niecy. I love her.
Yes.
Yep.
Jazzy
Williams.
Here's
Gene Carn. Oh, Sister Sledge.
Sister Sledge.
Look at that cover, man.
You guys ever heard of a song called Jiggalette by Ozone?
Oh, yeah.
Now, that's a track because Tia Marie actually produced that, and she does some of the vocals on that track, man, by Jiggalette by Ozone.
Flag.
Yes, sir.
Star Point.
Pays the dig in the crates, baby.
Yeah. Linda Clifford.
Look at that. That's like a piece of art, man. That straight up looks. It looks like the last album before that. It would look like a piece of watercolor art, man.
That looks like metal to photography.
Oh, Willie Hutch.
Hey, Brent. Hey, can you put
From
that?
the Mac.
Brother's gonna work it out.
Hey, Sean, can you put that cover back up, man?
Which one?
The one that you just had before we switched to Remo. Is that drawn or is that the photo?
This is a photo.
Damn, that's some good photography, man. That is on time.
And you know what? Another thing is with music that people don't buy anymore. I mean, people get the music off of Spotify or whatever, right? I mean, back in the day, we'll buy an album and we could spend a good 30, 40 minutes just reading the liner notes, reading who played with what instruments, who wrote the songs. You know, I mean, now you don't get that when you listen to it on Spotify.
Stephanie Mills.
Oh man, I just saw her live in January, right before the pandemic hit. Yep.
That's
She was short as hell, man.
Yep.
Maxine Nightingale.
She was hella young when she was getting it in.
Yeah, she was in the Wiz play.
Yeah, she was 4'9", something like that, 4'10", something like that.
She was
She's
young,
real
man.
small.
Oh, what about Evelyn Champagne King?
Yeah.
Come down that bass line. Oh man.
Yeah, Minnie Whipperton, man.
Yep.
Minnie
She had that high pitch voice.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? I really like her first album. Before Loving You, like her first album, I really feel like don't get enough play. Because that album is so experimental with the instruments and the orchestras and all that. And her voice just fitted over them perfectly. I really try and tell people, man, check out her first album.
And what about the Delphonics, man?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's how that old bebop, man. Love that. That's the oldies for me, man.
That's why I completely enjoyed the Luke Cage soundtrack, man, because it was just like old classic. So you hear those old classics, like when the Delphonics was on there, man. I was like, God, this take you back, man.
Billy Stewart.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
Or
man.
the soundtrack of Jackie Brown.
Yes.
Yeah.
All that Delphonics and stylistics and all that on there, man. That was
Yeah, Strawberry Leather 23 when Samuel killed Chris Tucker.
Yeah. You know what's another great soundtrack people sleep on is Baby Driver.
Oh yeah.
That is a great soundtrack because that dude who did that, who's also did the English guy, right? Who did Shaun of the Dead and everything.
Oh,
He's
okay.
a big music head. I mean, if that whole scene in Shaun of the Dead where they're breaking down if it's techno or electro, I mean that's. If you're a music head, you appreciate when you see a movie and they're talking about shit that you and your homie may talk about. Anytime when they're talking about, it's just like if you see a movie and they're talking about comic books, like in Fanboys or something like that. You know what I mean? And then when they do the same thing about music, and you just don't get that with new music because it's interchangeable, right? I mean, call me crazy, but I love me some Bruno Mars and Justin Timberlake because they were a bit of a throwback when they came out.
Yeah.
When Justin Timberlake did Suit and Tie, oh man, and Jay-Z came on it, I was like, oh, that was a track. And when you hear Justin Timberlake perform that live, it sounds so great because they have great musicians for that.
You know who's been out for a couple of years? That music is such a throwback. Thundercat.
Oh, Thundercat is funk, man. He's the funk.
Straight funk.
Master.
Yep.
Hey,
I
have you
look-
seen that video of him and it's him and Ariana Grande, and they're doing
Yeah, I seen that video.
It's for a Cartoon Network or something like that. But man, he is slapping that bass, boy.
Yeah, he really knows how to throw it down with the bass, man. And his music, I just like that. Like you look at him and he's kind of comedic with his look. And and that Dragon Ball do-rag is fucking hilarious. But at the same time, it slaps, man. The beat, the funk, the bass. I just can listen to that over and over and just get total vibes from it. Just awesome music. Here's one.
Oh yeah, change mutual attraction, man. That's my shit there.
Yeah, buddy.
You got The Lover's Holiday,
Yeah.
Glow of Love, with Luther
Why don't
Banjo.
you show it, play it, man.
With
Come on, we can't be talking about music without playing it.
Hey, YouTube ain't our friend when it comes to playing music.
Yeah,
Man.
trust me,
me,
I know, man. I put music in all my videos, and it's like, man, let's see who's gonna allow me to keep it up.
Yeah, it's like when you do these.
They
What you
let
say?
you keep the videos out. If you play music, will they let you keep it? If you're not trying to make money off of it, will they let you keep it up?
Even if you, so here's how it works. So if you put up something that's copyrighted, you will get a copyright thing, which is not the strike. So I have a video that has 12 copyright strikes on it, right? But I don't monetize it. But even if I did monetize it, all that means is any money you make, the artist who claims it will get. So I put up like a New Jack Swing mix, and it was like every single record got ding. I was like, damn.
Right.
But at the same time, I put on John Williams, the Emperor's theme, right?
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
They took it off YouTube altogether. They were like, boom. John
Was
Williams don't mess around.
that what led to your channel getting shut down before? So,
I don't think so, man. I think it was I posted. So remember when the Avengers came out the second time? Endgame came out the second time with the Stan Lee tribute,
yeah.
right? So I snuck into the theater and I just recorded the Stan Lee part. And I put it on YouTube. I said, it's not going to, man. It got 700,000 views. And like, oh, shit, this is good. I hope nobody finds this. It started getting 800,000 views. And I was like, well, let me look at because I monetized it and they didn't put any copyright on it because basically I just took my phone and I recorded that thing. So the algorithm didn't find it. So I looked at my AdSense for it and it goes, in the month, you're going to get $1,000 off this video because it had 750,000 views. I was like, oh shit. But as more and more people started watching, I was like, man, I'm starting to get scared. Somebody's going to report this. So I have a feeling it was one of the professional movie scoopers that I was arguing with at the time. They reported it to YouTube and then YouTube took down my channel, but they didn't even, they didn't even warn me. They just took it down without anything. I think it was a rogue algorithm that caught it. So I don't know, man.
Because I seen on one of your videos you had like you were doing like some afternoon mixes and you had a DJ.
Yeah, my man DJ Curse was on there. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out DJ Curse, man.
Yeah, and I was like, how is he doing that?
So YouTube is pretty, I mean, unless you find like there's some songs like the Eagles. If you play an Eagles song, they will straight up take down the video, mute it, do whatever. So a lot of DJs been doing it like on Twitch, but even on Twitch, they'll mute a part of the section where the artist is like, no, I don't want anybody to do it because YouTube does it the right way. If the artist wants you to allow to play it, they're saying, all right, give me my royalties in. Cool. That's your song. I'm giving you love by showcasing your music so that you get paid for it. And I think YouTube has finally figured it out. There's still some that don't like it. Like I have the Dark Side Jedi. I have this theme song that takes the Emperor's theme and I looped it for 15 seconds and I still get dinged on every time I play it. So there's a trick to doing it if you guys want to do it. You either speed it up by about 5 to 8 BPM and the algorithms won't catch it. Or you don't want to slow it down because it sounds awful. Most DJs speed songs up when they're mixing because it can still sound okay. And if you speed it up, they won't catch the algorithms. Or if you ever watch reaction videos, it's annoying as fuck, but they get away with it because they'll play a song for 15 seconds, they'll stop, and they'll talk about it, and then they'll play it again for 15 seconds, and they'll stop. And they think that'll get around it, but, eventually the algorithms will catch up, but some of these guys, their professional jobs are doing reaction videos, right? Like, I like that one dude, Shaq, No Life Shaq, who does like he does the hip hop stuff, but he also does stuff where they hip hop heads will listen to classic rock and do reactions to it. And then they started doing where old school rock and roll heads were reacting to like old school hip hop. So it's cool to see like different people react.
I like
it's
that.
not your
I like
Hey,
that.
Sean, you ever hear this guy on Stone's Throw named Prophet? You ever hear that guy?
Yeah.
I think I heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty. Check him out, man. He got a couple of cuts, man, that has a little old school R&B feel to it.
TiVo brought up New Jack Swing, so I had to throw the boy Keith Sweat in there.
The simp of simps.
The simp of simps, the ultimate beggar.
the whiniest, whiny ass.
Y'all can say what y'all
let you
want
do that,
to.
Keith.
I wanna.
And man, is the simp
At the
master. I
time, it
agree,
was
but
Keith
that
Sweat and I'll Be
album,
Sure were the two. They were the men back then.
Oh,
Back in the day, I'll Be Sure.
Like
I'll be sure them jean suits.
Yeah.
But
And you still wear 'em.
that Keith Sweat Make It Last Forever is a classic
Yeah, I
album,
agree.
man.
What you say, Remo? You say you still wear 'em?
Yeah, he still wears them.
God damn.
And that album right there, Sean, man, shoot. I'm telling you, that's a classic too, but I was mad they only had 2 slow jams. But I figured Goodbye Love was probably like they said, well, we don't need no more slow jams. We just had those 2.
I love A Piece of My Love.
Oh my
how
God.
old you when God came out with that album?
That album came out like in 87, 88. So I was probably in like the 10th grade when it came out.
That must have been crazy, man, when that song came out in 10th grade.
Hey, let me tell y'all a quick story. This funny story, right? So TiVo just mentioned Al B. Sure, right? So we had I think it was the 9th to 10th grade. We went up to Six Flags over Georgia. And at the Six Flags, there was I don't want to call it a club, but it was a club basically. And it was daytime. It was a Saturday. We went up, one afternoon, and it was a whole bunch of us from the school that went. So they were playing a whole bunch of stuff. They were playing New Edition and stuff like that. People were waiting to get in because the way they had it set up, the line was long as hell. And you could only be in there for like 15 minutes, which is about equivalent to maybe 2 or 3 songs. You go in there and dance, and you can get the hell on. It was at Six Flags. It was at the theme park, Six Flags over Georgia. Well, anyway, we were standing outside, and Night and Day had just dropped the song by Al B. Sure. So this place had a sound system for your ass. Like it was like you could hear it was crystal clear. So you know how when Night and Day come on, they hit that boom, and then it. Folks was outside screaming and hollering like Al B. Sure was in there singing for real. And it was insane, man. It's like people's like, I gotta get in there, I gotta dance to that song. That's a slow song. You ain't slow jamming to nobody. Get the hell on. You know what I'm saying?
Back to what Sean was showing though, when he was showing like Guy, Levert, and all this. You know what is missing? There's no more such thing as R&B groups. They're all solo acts, right?
Yes.
So if you go back, you think about just the girls, SWV, the Good Girls. Remember,
the Good Girls
is my week. I was just jamming that the other day, boy. And then
if you can.
Jade, remember,
don't walk away from me. Yep.
There's no such thing. I mean, I guess Beyonce killed it with Destiny's Child, where she just kicked the other two to the curb and went solo, right? I mean, but think about it. There's no guy R&B groups either. Like,
the 90s was like you had all those groups, Jodeci,
H-Town.
Guy, H-Town,
UNV, Portrait.
all them guys.
Way.
Soul for Real.
Soul for Real. Candy Rain, man. I was listening to that today.
Another thing about it is the record companies didn't want to pay all those guys. They said, we're going to see one guy. Like when you look at Drew Hill.
Well, didn't the producer of New Edition went on to do like NSYNC or Backstreet? One of the, right? It was the
New Kids on the Block.
Yeah, he robbed New Edition, and then he went on to rob them, and then that started the whole thing with NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys and all this, and then One Direction, and now you got these K-pop dudes and to be honest with you, I like K-pop music more than I like what is our music now. I mean, at least they do. Yeah, but at least they dance, and they're like a throwback to the '90s groups where they dance, they sing.
And them Asians love New Jack Swing. You look up the New Jack Swing hashtag, I guarantee you, majority of it is all Asians, and they doing New Jack Swing.
Like I said, every country takes what we used to do good, and they do it better. I mean, it's like once we're done with it, we throw it to the side, they pick it up, and then continue to elevate it. Who were the best breakers after we got finished with breakdancing? Japan, Korea was winning the world b-boy competitions called Battle of the Year. Germany had taken it. Paris started taking it. Europe started taking control. I mean, some of the best battles of years were from like Korea against Japan because they took our b-boy culture and made it better. I mean, in Japan, they love American culture so much where they have lowrider shows in Japan because they all dress like cholos. They have rockabilly shows, and it used to be back in the day when 80s, remember when the 501s came out here? Everybody was rocking 501s, right? Mm-hmm. Well, they were hard to get in Japan, but smart cats in America started flying to Japan and selling them for what, $200, $300, $400 a pair in Japan because they were hard. They wanted to get those Levi 501s that we were getting the Mervins for, thank God. You know what I'm saying? We were getting them for cheap. But they take the American culture from rockabilly to ska to b-boy. I mean, they got Japanese MCs that do crazy flows. Yeah, I mean,
my cousin was just stationed out there. He just came home, but he said it's broken up and there's different zones, so there's different types of people in different culture. Or they have a whole section where people look, like you said, they look like cholos. There's a section where they look black. Like they have like they wear their hair in
Afros.
and braids, and their skin they tan their skin so that it's dark. And it's crazy, man.
There's a YouTube video. There was this crazy Japanese show, and you can't understand it because it's all Japanese, but you can watch it, and they have dance competitions. And one time it was New Jack Swing dancers. One time it was like pop locking. I mean, straight up like old school, like rerun style locking, right? And then, of course, popping, that's still big because the b-boy culture really grew and it expanded out where it's like, hey, well, let's do all this other stuff. Let's do the locking. All right, let's do strutting. I mean, Remo, you know what I'm talking about from the Bay Area. We don't pop, we strut. You know, that was the thing. We had a different style of strutting as opposed to popping, which, you know, grew up from New York City. But in LA and the Bay, we had a style of popping we call strutting. And those are like Playboys Inc. And then if you ever go to San Francisco, you see the cats on like the pier. Remember that dude? He used to be on all silver. Yeah, man. I miss those days so bad, man. You don't see the hip hop
still out there. He had like, man, it was like a generation of them, man. It was, I think, the last one just recently left. Because
the problem is with kids nowadays is they don't know what the 4 elements are. They just assume hip hop is rap. Well, hip hop is b-boying. Hip hop is the 4 elements of hip hop, and this started way back when. If you watch, what is that? That graffiti film? What was it called? Before Wild Style. If you watch Wild Style, then you were like, when I was growing up, I saw Wild Style and I lost it. I started going out spray painting on shit. I wasn't too good. I even bit my tagger name. My name was Phase 2, which was from a famous New York City graffiti artist. But hip hop included DJing, graffiti writing, MCing, and what's that? Graffiti, DJing, MCing, and b-boying. Those are the 4 things, the 4 elements of hip hop. But now everybody confuses hip hop with rap. Rap is just hell. Rap was one of the oldest elements of hip hop. DJing is what really first started. And you talk about in the 70s when they were DJing.
Rap was corny to b-boys.
Yeah, rap was the latest into the add to the b-boys because before then the DJ was the life of the party. Everybody came for the DJ, and the MC he would just rap over the breaks. And then you had the b-boys getting down, and then the graffiti writers are doing their thing on the side, and then hip hop kind of took over, or rap did, and then eventually they had to label it as something. So let's just call it hip hop.
Go ahead, finish your sentence.
No, I'm just saying. I just think hip hop culture as we know it is dead. The way people dress, the fly Adidas, the Pumas, the Adidas from head to toe, the Kangos, I mean, all that stilo we used to have is gone. And you see it with the young NBA stars the most, where they're lost and have no idea. When they walk down before the game and Russell Westbrook was wearing, I don't know what the fuck he's wearing. He's wearing like a goddamn safety suit, like a street side worker.
Yeah.
The stilo is gone. There's that style's not there anymore. Where you see
they adopt a European style now in terms of fashion.
Yeah. Tight ass jeans and
in a clear like rain suit one time.
I look at it as and true MCs know what to do on the mic, whereas anybody can rap.
Yeah,
anybody can rap. I mean, Rodney Dangerfield dropped a rap album, man. Rodney
Duke, remember that?
Weird Al Yankovic.
The rapping Duke.
Anybody can rap, but if you're a true MC and you know how to structure your rhymes and put out beats and freestyles and all that, those are the MCs. That's why
I would say there's 2 types of MCs. There's the freestyle MC, and there's the MC that knows how to rock a party, right? To get the people going, because a freestyle artist, sometimes they zone in, they don't even see the crowd. But a guy who is with the DJ, who's hyping the crowd, you know what I mean? That guy's gone too. There's no such thing as an MC and a DJ. The last time we saw that was Fresh Prince and DJ Jazzy Jeff. In my opinion, DJ Jazzy Jeff is one of the few old cats can still get down with the younger cats because he takes technology to Serato and uses it to his own. People are so hung up on, he doesn't play vinyl, he's whack. But Jazzy definitely, look, I play vinyl, but Serato is a tool that makes me a better DJ because I have this background, and I to this day, if you listen to Jazzy Jeff get down, he's still with the younger cast like Scratch Bastard or the guy that's on Cut Chemist or not Cut Chemist, Z Trip, who is LA. He's LL's DJ now, and he's on LL's Sirius station. So I'm glad to see these guys are bringing back DJing to what it is with the not only mixing but cutting and scratching. Because for a while there, we started straying when Paris Hilton started DJing gigs. I was like, oh, wait a second, let's bring the culture back. This is getting a little whack now.
Hey, man, you know, I want to say something what Chivo was saying earlier about hip hop and Asian culture. I don't know if anybody has had an opportunity to do it, but I would highly recommend this weekend. Just go to YouTube and type in boom bap Asian hip hop and just watch what pops up. This shit sounds better.
Yep.
It's like they took 1993. It was like, you know what? We're gonna bring it up to code today, and it sounds just like it did back then.
Crazy thing is, it's in Japanese and it sounds good, and they'll rap in English and it sounds good.
Sean, you know what you need to have on your show is I don't know if you fuck with them on Instagram, Hip Hop Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to him before. He wanted me on his show, and I was going to bring him, but we should have him on here because he's in the same stilo as us. He's about hip hop and he's about comic books, and I try to tell people so many times that comic books and hip hop. I know we're a little bit off, but but like comic books and hip hop have such a long history. They were perfect together. I mean, the Rapper's Delight was talking about Superman on that song, right? I mean, Nucleus, all this stuff, way before Wu-Tang. All the rappers and DJs were all secret comic book geeks, right? And then, and then they kind of secretly let it out. It wasn't cool to be, it wasn't chic to be geek like it is now. But now you got, Run DMC making his own comic, Method Man talking he's a big comic book fan. Eminem.
Have you listened to that yet? His podcast on Sirius.
He has a podcast on Sirius.
Yeah, but it's a Marvel one.
That's the. You know what? I heard them talking about that the other day on the radio about the comics and stuff on Sirius now. Okay.
Marvel has their own like channel for podcasts and.
You remember the guy, the old editor in chief who got fired, Alex Alonso, right? Yeah. He was the one. He's actually from the Bay Area, by the way. Yeah. He's the one that started all the hip hop covers because he was a big hip hop head, right? Yeah. So I mean, it's inextricably. There's so many old hip hop albums, and it's hard to see it on CD. But when you buy the albums, like, do you guys remember "Jam on It" by Nucleus?
Yeah,
it's a total comic book cover. And in that song, he goes, "Superman came down to me. He said, you rap so viciously." And then he talked about woofers made of steel. Yeah. I mean, when you were a kid, I mean, all of us, we probably grew up and our comic book thing was like, oh man, I got to keep this on the down because the homies gonna be making fun of me and shit. You know what I mean?
Yo, one of the best songs that blend comics and hip hop and actually had them do battle was Last Emperor's Secret War.
Oh
He voiced the characters of Marvel characters against rappers. Like I'll never forget Dr. Octopus versus Busta Rhymes. Busta Rhymes whooped his ass with his dreads, man.
As a kid, being a comic book collector and into music, I loved looking at all the Parliament Funkadelic, and they had nothing but comics. Sir Nose, my icon, all of that was they were all comic books. Inside of them were all books. I used to read them all. They were all panels. It would be, look, all of that stuff. It was. Look
at Caesar Face.
Yeah.
7L and Esoteric and Inspector Deck. Their whole bases are coming together with being comic book.
Well, it's called nerdcore, right? The geek core, But even rock records, Joe Satriani, Ride the Silver Surfer on the album.
Yeah.
That's like what? I bought the record just because Silver Surfer was on the album. I was like, I don't give a fuck about Joe Satriani. Yeah, but that song's okay, but if you look at the Planet Rock album, it actually even has a price logo on it, straight up like a comic book. That's how dope it is, man.
Yeah.
Hey man, don't forget about MF Doom. All counts, man.
Hey, shout out to my man Word Burglar from Canada. Man, he straight up talks. I mean, he is probably the most knowledgeable. That song, Words with Pictures. That song. I mean, he's talking about Nth Man. He's talking about the West Coast Avengers. I mean, that's some deep, nerdy geek shit that we can be like, yeah, I see what you're doing there. I mean, Word Burglar is tight. If you peep him out, he also raps about like G.I. Joes, Transformers. I mean, he has a song called Snake Island about it. I mean, check him out, Word Burglar. He's a dude from Canada, but he's pretty tight with it. I mean, and he raps on an old school flow. He's not like trying to chop it up new style. You know how the flow is. Oh my God, I'm gonna shoot somebody next time. Somebody says,
Sean, I got one for you, man. I got a group. We'll slide it back to R&B. You remember Clear, man? Tonight You know, that's the sample that they took from DJ for the DJ Quick sample.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's what I mean. That's the stuff that like, we listen to out here. Like it was all that type of R&B.
Shout out to Nemesis Prime.
Hey, I even let TiVo know, man, that I am rocking the shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. You got to get the hoodie to keep warm, baby. Come on now.
Yeah.
Now back to what like in the Bay Area, we had a very specific type of funk. We had that electronic funk, that Zap Roger. Everybody was bumping out. The brothers were bumping it. The Cholos were bumping it. Remember when Genius of Love came out? With the Tom Tom Club came out with Genius of Love? Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, people were bumping that shit all summer long. And then that song got sampled the hell out of. But we were definitely, it was Zap and Roger. And it was that whole G-Funk, right? That led to Dr. Dre doing all that, and then, you know, Regulator. I mean, all that stuff that led to the West Coast hip hop thing. Back then, I liked West Coast hip hop, but I was more of like a B-boy. So I was like, you know what? I want to hear some lyrics. You know what I'm saying? And then,
listening to that type of stuff at barbecues and at parties, that we when we hear our rap, it was like we wanted it separate. Like you said, it was like, I don't want to listen to that, you know what I mean, all day. But that's really what we ended up listening to anyway. But we wanted our rap separate from the music that we listen to when we chill. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Let me ask y'all this. Let me ask y'all a question, man. Do y'all think? Do you think at some point we're going to get back to old school R&B? I mean, when I say that, I'm talking into a sense of because at some point the madness has to stop.
Well, you know, I mean, Bruno Mars did a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, he was
straight up.
Best out there.
Yeah, I mean, it was straight up New Jack. You know, he had the New Jack hustle, New Jack sound. He had a little bit of everything. But it's sad because we have to go outside of America to find good R&B and funk music. Like for a while, Australia straight killing it with like these old breakbeats. There's this group called the Bamboos, Aquatic Soul Sample. I mean, all these groups that basically took like old soul records and they had real drums on it, real musicians on it, and you know, they couldn't get any play. I mean, if you go peep them out, the Bamboo's got at least 8-9 albums. But then we have every now and then you got like Sheeran Jones, the Dap Kings. What was her name? She passed away. Was it Sharon Jones or Sheeran and the Dap Kings? Hold on, man. She was, you know,
Dap Kings.
Yes. Yeah, and the Dap Kings. Remember, there was about 6-7 years ago, this was right around Amy Winehouse, and that whole kind of retro soul sound was back again for a minute, right? It was back again for a minute. And at Adele, they were all kind of doing this. And then Sharon Jones, it was like a retro soul sound. And it got its play, but then it wasn't, you know, popping in the clubs because, you know, apparently you have to be able to shake your ass to it in a club and not just listen to it. And, you know, we're at the age now where what we used to consider adult contemporary, right? I mean, that's the sad thing. It is like our music is now on Coast FM. That's where it is.
That's the problem why music don't last now, because they either specifically make them for clubs or they make it to be some trendy ass challenge on social media. And I'm like,
more clubs, so they're gonna have to make it for something.
And it's like they make it for a TikTok dance is what they did. Yeah. It's ridiculous, man.
And it's like, you know, I want music that I know will last forever. You know, the music I grew up with, I can listen to now, 40 years from now, and I could be 70, 80 years old, and I'm still listening to music from the 70s and 80s. Because that music has lasting power. And when I listen to music today, it's like what these kids are today. It's hot 1 minute, and then next week they just looking for something new. They go, oh, that's old. And it was last week it came out, now it's old.
This is it's the instant gratification generation is what it is.
You got to have music that the way Al's face was just looking just a second ago. When you smell like something stinking in the kitchen, that's the look that you gotta have when it comes to listening to good music, man. And everybody get on the same page. You know somebody we had brought up tonight, y'all? Frankie Beverly and Maze, man.
Old Maze, yep.
Yeah, Old Maze, man.
How about Babyface?
LA and Babyface,
man. Look at that cover, man.
Hell yeah, look at that.
Got the soapbox.
Oh man.
Soapbox.
You got white walls on it too. Look at that. Hey fellas, I gotta mash out, man. My ladies knock me on the shoulder, I got to go feed her something. So unfortunately, I'm the only one that cooks in this house because I enjoy the taste of food. I don't let her cook. So well, I hope she didn't hear that. But hey, man, I appreciate you all, man. It was great chopping up. I hope I can do it again sometime. And
hey, if I do Hip Hop Volume 3, you back for that one, man.
Yeah, man. We'll be connected with you too, TiVo.
All right, brothers. Hey, stay safe, y'all. It was nice chopping up. Hope we can do it again.
Peace, man. Be safe, bro.
Peace out.
Safe. Steve, go ahead and say something, man. I know we've been talking up a storm.
Shit, man, I couldn't get nothing in. I'm listening and learning, I guess. Yeah, man. But I mean, I know almost all the groups you talked about. I mean, I heard them all.
Yeah.
Man, I remember when I went to see Earth, Wind, and Fire, and they were just jamming out. And this was like maybe 98, 99. And my park, which was like 2 blocks away from me growing up, they used to have, these concerts that you get in for free. And we saw Earth, Wind, and Fire. We saw Cameo. We saw Sugar Hill Gang. And I was like, these are the stuff that I grew up listening to due to my parents. And now I'm going to actually see them. You would think my parents would go see them, but at that time, they too busy with other stuff. So I went to go see them, and it was an experience for me.
Hey, Sean, we have this thing down here in Macon, man. It's called Al know what I'm talking about. It's called the Soul Jam Festival. Every single year, man, they have Lakeside, they have Cameo Function, SOS Band.
And I love Lakeside. They probably one of my favorites, man.
Yeah, I know. I remember when you requested me to post a song on Old School Sunday.
Man, I've been playing the hell out of them, man.
Hey, Steve, you'll love this. So for Thanksgiving, I was over to Larry's, and so he had never seen Your Wish Is My Command. He never seen the video or heard the song, and so he was like, "Who did he do?" I said, "Man, this Lakeside, man." And so I showed him the video, and that's when they was all dressed up in the Egyptian garb, like genies or whatever.
They dressed up in all kind of shit, boy.
Yeah, and I told him, I said, man, these guys was out there, man, was putting on a show. They was making sure that they made sure that they put on the show to sell those records, man.
That's why they were so much better, man. Look at the Temptations. They all had, routines to all the goddamn songs, man. You was, watching them dance. I remember Tavares when they would come out, man, and sing their songs, man. They came out jamming from jump as soon as the song came on. That's a lot of people don't know, man. Like Michael Jackson. Yeah, I don't know if anybody watched that documentary, Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson didn't fucking play. He said he get the routine right, get the motherfucking routine right. This is what we doing.
Yeah. Are you talking about
this is it? Yeah, this is it. Get the motherfucking routine right,
like,
man. I'm sending your ass home.
I don't want to make it seem like I'm upset or anything like that, but y'all gotta get this shit straight.
Yeah.
I don't want to be an asshole.
Yeah.
Hey, man, because his ass will stay working longer than all of them.
Yeah.
Him, Prince, and Michael Jackson put in all the work when it came to performing for their shows. Like their rehearsals and stuff like that was so on point, and they were so strict on making sure if you're gonna play music with Prince or you're gonna rehearse with Michael, you better be on point.
On point, man.
You know who they got that from, right?
James Brown.
Yeah. I heard James Brown. I heard James Brown the same way.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it in the movie. You saw the documentaries. James Brown, like if you mess up one note
out the group,
he gonna give it to you.
You gonna be famous plane.
Yeah,
the plane put out.
Yeah. They said, hey man, I heard a story, man. I heard the story. So we got, of course, Otis Redding is from Macon. And so one of my clients is the Otis Redding Foundation, man. I was doing a photo shoot for them earlier this year. And his wife was telling us a story about they knew a guy who wanted to go play for James Brown. He had flew out. And they say they looked back and like 2 days later he was back home. They were like, "Hey man, what you doing back home?" Dude said, "Man, I messed up on a note on one of James Brown's songs." And he sent his ass back to Macon.
I like that. Like you were saying, Sean, when he went on the show, he said, "Oh, I got to go on for the Rolling Stones." And then he went out there and tore it up. He said, "Welcome to America." I laughed my ass off because he knew they weren't going to be able to do nothing with what he just left them with.
James Brown is one of the greatest showmen ever.
Oh yeah.
You know, like you can't go to a James Brown show and walk out disappointed.
Yeah.
That's not gonna happen because he's gonna put on a performance.
Hey man, you can ask anybody, especially anybody that's older, like in their 70s, 80s. Not you can ask say who's the best entertainer of all time? James Brown. They don't even flinch. They say James Brown followed by a close Chubby Checker, believe it or not.
Oh, Chubby
Chubby Checker, man. Them old heads, man, they love
Yeah.
Chubby Checker, man. Them old heads, they love Chubby Checker.
Dude,
Man.
good twist.
I'd go drag my grandma out the bed right now. Hey, come here. So who oh, Chubby Checker and James Brown, baby. That's where it was at. And if it wasn't them, it was that Aretha Franklin and all that. You know, they start going on the list. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
My mom was all about the funk and everything. My dad was from Georgia, so he was it. If it wasn't Clarence Carter, he didn't want to hear it.
Clarence Carter's another one, yeah.
Or some Motown, like that was all he was into was that. Like
Hey,
out there, they wasn't playing none of that. So he, that was my dad. He was just like, well, whatever.
Did y'all watch the Temptations movie?
Oh hell yeah!
And that shit was so good, man. I've probably watched it about 10 times, man.
Yeah.
That
Ain't nobody coming to see you, Tito.
Nobody
No, not Tito. Damn, I don't fuck the name up.
What's his name?
Otis.
Oh, yeah. Blue was the deep singer, right? He was the one with the who was the guy that kept wanting to come back and just would bust on the stage all the time? David
Ruffin
would not go away, boy.
Yeah, he kept getting tied up with the
Got that Ike and Tina Turner.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
45. You got the
45. Yeah.
I ain't even bust out the 45s. My dad had a bunch of those.
You remember Maxine Nightingale? Maxine Nightingale, she sang right back where we started from. Yeah, she sang that and Lead Me On. She was a good ass singer too, but she wasn't real. She was one of them under the, exactly. In the down low you didn't know about, but she was.
See, those are the ones that are popular now. If you have them, if you have those records, people.
Those are the ones. Yeah.
There you go.
The Temptations was so freaking good, man.
Hey, what's on the other side of that, man?
What is on the other side here?
Side B.
Yeah, here we go. That's the way love is.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
yeah. Y'all remember the Moments?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yo, I remember when a story, because Stacey Lattisaw came and redid one of their songs, "Love on the Two-Way Street."
Love on the Two-Way Street.
Hey,
Yeah.
Hey, y'all.
Oh.
hey, Sean.
I probably heard that. I know that for sure. Because I used to be deep into Sesame Street as a kid, man.
Classic. Right there, boy.
Look at the name of the song on this 45, y'all. You can't make this shit up. Look at the name, right? Please don't hurt me.
Please don't hurt me. That's poetic justice.
Oh, you can't make this shit up.
She probably made that because she was getting hurt.
Please don't hurt me.
Everybody get the hell out. Leroy order pizza.
Oh man. Yo, Remo, that Ernie and Bert, bro. I remember playing that as a kid, bro.
Hey, that's the 12-inch mix. That what Remo had. He had the 12-inch.
Man,
extended. Featuring Bobby Brown.
Hey, and I also, there's a record that I saw. I didn't bring it up, but I had a couple of Alvin and the Chipmunks records, man.
Who got the Eddie Murphy album over there? I know one of y'all got the Eddie Murphy album over there.
Damn, I wish I had it.
I know who got it. Freaking Jeff 813. He loves that shit.
I
got it. What you want?
All the time.
Fun fact: do y'all know that the song on "Coming to America" when they are in the bar and they interviewing the women?
Yeah, I like that song.
That's Eddie Murphy. That's Eddie Murphy. That's his song. I got it.
Damn, I
know I got it. I know you got to get what you need. Yeah, that's Eddie Murphy, man.
Jeff was playing. Jeff said he looked up a song. It was "Boogie in Your Butt."
Yeah, I'll send it to you, Sean. You never knew that.
I never really paid attention to that because I know the System did that song Coming to America. I
Yeah.
love the and that's another group we ain't even talking about.
Oh man, the system, man. In my system.
Mhm.
Don't you
And then
know?
of course, you know, Don't Disturb This Groove. Man, they had some bangers.
They had about 4 albums, man, before they got good.
Hey, you remember when they was on Beat Street?
Yeah.
When
I seen those video for this on YouTube.
And they were auditioning, and then Brenda K. Star was auditioning. Remember when they were trying to get the gig at the club, and he went in there to DJ.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Hey man, you know. Go ahead, Sean.
I watched all B Street, Wild Style, and Crush Groove. Like we had them all on. My father made sure he put all that on one VHS tape.
Yeah. On the 6-hour joint, right?
Right there, bro. Put that in the VCR. Watch all 3 of them.
You know somebody used to sing that fell off, just fell into obscurity, man. Tracy Spencer, man.
Oh my god.
You know, but you know she was on Kanye West album.
She was.
Y'all know that? I said a lot of folks don't know she was on Kanye West album. She did the hook for one of the songs.
She was so good in the early 90s, and she just fell off a cliff by the late 90s, man.
Yeah, she was pretty, man.
And y'all remember Irene Cara?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's who your boy liked in that damn movie. Irene!
Irene Cara!
It's Irene Cara! Get out of here!
DC
he wanted
Cab.
to put her in his cab. DC Cab.
DC Cab, yeah.
I love that movie, bro. We gotta talk about that.
Hey, what was his name?
Tyrone.
He had the rubber bands in his hair.
Yeah, he had those rollers in his head. One of them fell off.
Tyrone.
What about your what about your boy the Dio, man? We didn't talk about the Dio.
Babyface with Babyface in them.
Yeah, with S curl, man. That's better when they all had S curls.
L.A. Reid.
Occasions.
Yeah.
L.A. Reid was the drummer.
Yeah. He was the judge, right on the.
Yeah, he was an executive at all the records.
He like bang bang gotcha, shoot them up.
The OJs. That's one. I was thinking we mentioned the OJs tonight. Have we mentioned the OJs?
Hell no.
No, we didn't mention the OJs, man.
Never mind. I just listened to that, Matt. That song is so damn good, man. Forever Mine, man.
Yep.
The OJs was badass too. They all put on shows, man. That's why you just go to YouTube, you hear the song and you get the show. You get it both, man.
Yeah. Time at Social Club.
Oh, fucking Rumors.
Yeah, that's from Sacramento.
Yeah, I'll say that.
Look at all these rumors. Son, follow me every day.
Time at Social Club, and then what was the other one?
Club no.
Debbie D. Debbie D.
For Nobel.
Yeah.
Debbie D. Did you say Debbie D?
Debbie D. Yeah.
Oh my God, I ain't heard that name in years. She was fine.
Shoot, I went to the dang. It was a jam reunion type deal. Comes every year. They do it at the Sundome, and Stevie B was there, and all those girls that could sing. Damn, what were the girls?
Cover girls.
Yes, all of those groups was there.
Freestyle
Explosion. Yeah, man.
Yeah, you know, I was gonna bring that up earlier. The Miami freestyle stuff, man.
Yeah.
There was some jams.
Now, freestyle music is huge here in the Bay Area. I mean, huge. Like when it mirrors Florida because they love them some Stevie B and some Cover Girls and some Debbie D, all that.
What was that one Stevie B that I liked it?
Shit, he had a bunch of songs. Stevie B has a bunch of songs.
What's the one, babe? Stevie B.
I liked it In My Eyes. That was the song that got played in New York for a couple of times.
The Fantasy Girl?
You probably
Diamond Girl, wasn't it? Diamond Girl?
Diamond Girl. And Fantasy Girl. A Fantasy.
Yeah, it was so many of them.
He also did, Dreaming of Love, and I liked that one too.
Yeah.
Man, let me ask my wife who them girls was that sang. They were good as hell, man. It was 3 of them. The 3 girls they were from Miami. Man, they kicked ass too. Let me ask her real quick.
Who was it? Who was it? Cover Girls, and who was the other one?
I'll tell you one group of women that kicked.
Who was the ones that sang that song? Let me be the one.
Oh, you talking about oh man, God almighty man, Sapphire.
Fire. Okay, yeah.
Sapphire, yeah. Climax, man.
Climax.
Yeah,
That's another.
Climax.
My wife just said that right now. She's like, Climax, y'all didn't talk about Climax?
The Climax. Sharon Bryant.
Was the one, the other girl, the lady, she was the one that did Sign Lloyd.
Pebbles.
No, not Pebbles. She was in Climax, I think.
Oh, you talking about what is that girl's name? Hold on.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know you're talking about. I gotta go look at
Joyce
Sims.
Joyce Sims, yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Yep. Lisa Fisher.
Yeah, Lisa Fisher, I know her.
Lisa Keith.
Regina Bell.
Oh man, come to me. That's my cut that man.
Yeah.
You ever see her unsung? Her unsung is real good. They did one of her on
What did she say it was, Steve?
One of them was Lisa in the Cult Jam.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Full Force, baby.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Who else?
Cool.
You know who else we didn't name was George Benson, man.
I was thinking about George Benson, man.
Benson. You mentioned Brick, right? And they were. I didn't know they had so many songs when I went back and just played the one I knew. Oh, I love George Benson, man. He kicked
my favorite song, man. My favorite song is "Give Me the Night."
Give me the night. That's my favorite. Hey, Remo, that's my favorite one too. I know on Broadway, everybody knows.
Yeah,
but I love me, man. That's my favorite.
I love "Turn Your Love Around" too.
Yeah, I love that song.
You charging me by the hour. Oh yeah.
We didn't list boy Bobby Caldwell either.
Yo, Bobby Caldwell was one of those guys that you didn't see his face on album covers. You didn't see it, but then when you saw it, black people were shocked as fuck. What? He's a white dude?
That's what they call Blue-Eyed Soul, baby.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Him, Michael McDonald, Simply Red.
Boz Scaggs.
Boz Scaggs.
Boz Scaggs, man. No, he is badass.
I got one for y'all. Michael Franks.
Yeah, Michael Franks.
Wow, that's a smooth operator, that man.
Hey, Reed said it was Expose was the other one.
Yeah, the point of no return.
Yeah, the girls, all three of them can sing.
Expose, exactly. I was thinking because I know it was Cover Girls, but I know Expose was the other one. Yeah,
the Pointer Sisters.
Yeah, Pointer Sisters.
Yeah.
Hey, she bought a shirt from it, so I got everybody was there. Hold on.
Shannon was really
Lisa. Shannon was there.
Oh yeah,
Johnny O.
Yeah, Johnny O. Yeah,
Debbie Deb. The Jets.
That's what I'm thinking about today, man. I was trying.
The Jets,
That's it.
Yo, we ain't even talk about the Jets.
Yeah, the Jets were good. And we were surprised. They kicked butt.
My wife's like, you didn't talk about the bars.
Yeah.
The Dynasty. Ella get me for that. We didn't talk about Dynasty, man. Adventures in Wonderland.
Yeah. I have a DeBarge album right here.
Heatwave kicked ass, boy. Heatwave was badass back in the day.
I know Big Remo showed Switch earlier too.
Yeah.
DeBarge had some bangers, man. Hey, you quiet, man. You've been mute for like half an hour.
He over there jamming. Delegation.
Oh, wash.
Rolls Royce.
I ain't trying to get you kicked off of YouTube, man. So you know.
Hey, I don't blame you, man. You got a jam after all the music we done talked about today.
Hey, man, every time y'all say somebody, I pull them up and start.
In, man.
You know.
What about Jeffrey Osborne, boy?
Man.
LTD.
They were now you're in my.
Who I had? I ain't sure yet.
Hey, Big Bub.
Teddy Pendergrass, man.
Yeah.
Love TKO.
Yeah. That look like you, Sean.
Hey,
I did that on the other day.
Hey, that like Stay Puft right there.
GQ.
Yeah. GQ.
And there is. I mentioned him. We mentioned Commodore. There's Lionel Richie.
All right, so hold that up right there. So on that album, man, George Howard.
My bad. Hold on.
So George Howard did a cover for "Love Will Find a Way," man. Check that out, man. It is absolutely amazing.
Al Wilson, a little show and tell.
Andy Stanton.
House of Love.
That beautiful photo right there, man. This is awesome. Oh, here it is. Gregory Abbott, Shake You Down.
Hey, that one lost last night.
That lost. And
Yes! I love to. I
talking trash
bro,
about that song. Songs
bro,
awesome. Y'all crazy.
I love comic mag music, but bro, he be shitting on a lot of songs from the 80s. I'm like, come on, bro.
Yeah, man, they crazy with all that shit.
I was like, are you serious?
I was like,
that song.
Hey, that's why I was mad, Remo. I said, Remo, man, you wouldn't even have.
Bro, I popped because I came on the show late.
I picked Gregory Abbott for sure, but I was
Me
like,
too, for sure.
I came on the show late, right? So I'm watching it, and it was up to that part. I ain't say nothing in the chat because I was like, man, if I like Louis Armstrong, but I agree that wasn't his best work.
Yeah, I love Louis Armstrong's voice. I like it. I mean,
yeah, but come on, man.
Man, we're talking about
Abbott, man.
It's like
man, Gregory Abbott, man, throw down on that song. I don't give a damn. That was his main song.
Yeah, exactly.
That was like
hey, go. Look at his checking account. You tell me if that wasn't a good song. He's still getting royalties from that shit.
Still
that'll tell you damn sure what you need to know.
Steve.
What did Goat say? Hey, Goat said it was played at Red Lobster.
Yeah, Steve, I was just going to say, Steve, he get paid. He get paid at least 20 times a day from Walmart for that song.
How about this one? Y'all remember this?
Oh yeah, Inner Life. Yep.
Shit, I don't remember that. Damn. It's something y'all said I need to look up, man. Some of the stuff.
I got the MJ, the Michael Jackson, the King of Pop.
83, 84, Steve. That's like mid 80s.
Yeah.
Hey.
What about
one was 81?
After 7, man.
Oh shit, Babyface's Brothers.
Yeah, man. That's
right,
man. That album has that album means a lot to me, man. Before my mom passed out, she bought that and Bobby Brown, that last Bobby Brown album.
What last Bobby Brown? Because he had an album.
You remember that? Well, at that time, I'm thinking about back then. You know when they had because you remember when the Ghostbusters soundtrack came out.
Yeah.
You had to either buy it on the Ghost, you had to get on our own on the soundtrack, but then he had a special mix version on his.
Yeah, because he put out the remix edition, which had remixes, and that was on there.
Yep, that's the one I got.
Hey, that your wife remembers Champagne.
Oh yeah. But of course.
Those songs they say. Yeah, boy, they like them.
And Remo, let me tell you something. You're a real man because only a real man would drink a Coca-Cola out of a glass bottle. A real Coca-Cola. That's real Coca-Cola.
That's the ones I buy, man. I pay an extra $1 or $2 for this.
Even though I mentioned them as part of the change, this man ruled.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My wife just said, "You guys didn't talk about Luther." I'm like, "Yeah, we."
Hey, man,
I mentioned him.
Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
He was a hell of a producer too, by the way. A lot of folks don't know he's a hell of a producer.
But this guy, like in the 80s, he dropped nothing but classics. And you know who his competition was? Freddie Jackson.
Oh my Freddie.
Freddie Jackson, man.
Hey, you know what's so cold was when Freddie was in King of New York.
Oh yeah.
And he did that little talk. He was like,
hey, Sean, what about your boy Christopher Williams, man?
I mean, come on, man.
Call out Jimmy Macho.
Like, Don't Wake Me, I'm Dreaming. Those are some classics, bro.
Color Me Bad, man.
Color Me Bad. Who else was on that soundtrack? Well, we can get into a whole nother discussion talking about soundtrack.
Oh man, R&B soundtracks back in the day, man, for movies, man. Oh man, yeah.
Actually, I saw 2 copies of this because I got another one in the closet.
You know, Larry said the other day, Janet Jackson couldn't sing, man.
Come on now.
And he ain't really wrong, you know. She does okay.
Her early
but
stuff, man, was really
in terms of like, okay, so you got people that can sing. Janet Jackson can sing, but she's not a songstress like a Anita Baker or a Whitney Houston, because it's different levels to it. Right. So if you put her up against, I'm gonna be honest, like Sade, for example. Sade, I love Sade with all my heart, but she is not a singer. Like, I wouldn't put her in the same category is Patti LaBelle. Everybody
Yeah.
has their own different lanes. So in terms of like Janet Jackson and her singing ability, she does what she can for what she does. But
if it was a versus, it would be Janet Jackson against Tony Braxton.
Right, or Janet Jackson versus Paula Abdul.
Oh, we just saw the verses of Patti LaBelle and Gladys Knight.
That's only because Aretha was dead.
Yeah, Aretha will whoop the shit out of
Hey
all.
man, hey man.
Hey, they would have had to do They would have had to do a handicap grudge.
Yeah, she'd be like Jack Kirby. She's already on her own mountain.
Right.
Hey,
It was Aretha Franklin versus Patti LaBelle and
Hey, Rita been dead for about 2 years now, man. We ain't got to say that it's because Rita dead. You know, I love me some Rita though, man. No doubt about it.
That was the beef though. They didn't like
Yeah.
it.
No.
That would have had to have been it. You know what I'm saying? They would have had to. That would have been if she was alive, they would have gave her a check. That would have been the one because she would have been shading the shit out of Patti LaBelle at that verse.
Hey, Remo, and they would have brought in Tina Turner as a special guest referee.
Exactly.
Hey, Rico, another
Aretha would have been telling Tina where to get off at.
Yeah. Hey, what's her name could really sing was the girl that was was it Tina Marie? She could sing her ass off.
Baby T.
I'm James.
Man, but she just wasn't real, she didn't have that many great songs.
She had a lot. It was just
hey, Sylvester.
Oh man, that's old school. That boy, Sylvester, man.
Sylvester. 2 tons of fun.
Hey man, Big Bub, man. Y'all remember Big Bub?
Yeah. We ain't even talk about Rick James group, the Mary Jane Girls.
Yeah.
Big Bub was in the group today.
But Rick James had Mary Jane.
I didn't know that, Al.
Marie.
Yeah, he was the lead singer.
Yeah.
He said it in Why You Getting Funky on Me. He said, the B.I.G., the B, the WWDA. I'm the lead singer of the group today. I got my man on my side trying to tell you why. The reason why I can do it right. See, all the young ladies are in love with me. I am the big one. Bubba Lee, Chief, West, Emma Man, Love. I am in the middle. Big Bub. Go watch Why You Getting Funky on Me video. He's been the lead singer for that group.
Hey, Sean,
They was the underrated group.
Still around?
What? Is he still? Yeah, he's still around.
Still around?
Yeah. What about Keith Washington, man?
He brought up Keith.
Yeah.
Keith and them.
Yeah, man. Keith.
Hey, man. Let me ask you a question though, straight up. If I played 10 seconds of that song, do you think it'd be a problem, Sean? Like for real?
You know how YouTube. Hey,
Yeah.
I just want to play. I ain't going to play the verse part.
Hey, if they could do it on the Start Me Up show, then it should be good for 10 seconds. But
yeah, 10 seconds. That's what they
go backstage and get busy.
that's what we did for the hip hop show. The first hip hop show, we went 3 hours backstage looking at videos, man.
All right, hold on. Here it comes. I'm just gonna play this part right here.
Oh yes, I know that. Hey, that's all you need to play, bro. I already know.
I'm gonna cut it off.
That jumped
I'm telling you, man.
with that double-breasted suit on.
I'm gonna tell y'all something, man. It's so much good music that came out between the 50s up to the 90s. I don't even need to listen to nothing new, man. Like it's just so much, and then it's so much undiscovered music.
Panty droppers.
Yeah. He could throw them on the stage. Shoot.
Tom Jones, man, get them panties thrown at him, bro.
As soon as it come on, they say they throwing them at the stage.
Hey man, what about? I don't know if you're high fashion. You know about high fashion?
Damn.
Oh yeah, that's another group. Go check them out. High fashion. They had a couple of good hits back. They was more of a disco group. Probably 78, 84.
I don't mind disco. Like I wasn't one of those kill disco people. I can get down with some disco.
Yeah, but it was around about 78.
Disco has some, like the Candy Stanton song. I mean, album I showed. She had that great song, "Young Love." And that song is so fucking good. Like,
Yeah.
It just runs, like, you can listen to that song and just feel the vibes just coming through the system.
Disco to me is like house. It just got a bad vibe from like kind of, it was like a Studio 54 thing, and everything that was associated with Studio 54, everybody was trying to.
Man, that was the first cancel culture, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
That's where it started, right there.
That's all that was, because
burn the records, man. It was a bunch of good records. I ain't burning none of them.
Yeah, I love disco. Hey, don't take no disco away from me. I'll take all the disco you don't want. I'll take it.
Hey man, have you ever watched those any of those? If you want to watch a funny video, watch when they do a video of Bobby Caldwell on that What I Won't Do for Love.
Yeah,
I seen the reactions.
He's white.
Yeah, I seen the reaction videos, bro. It's hilarious.
I seen the guy do one on Michael McDonald. Dude was like, "Oh shit, I didn't know this guy was white."
Yeah, that goes to show you that music doesn't matter, man. Yeah. Right there.
There's a guy. There's a guy not named.
I was a Doobie Brothers fan growing up. My aunt, you know what I'm saying? My aunts, my mom, everybody.
I never forget when my boy Roger said, "What doobie do you be?"
You know who I like? Who I really enjoyed was Donald Fagen.
Oh, absolutely, man.
Donald Fagen was really good.
Yeah, Fagen was the shit.
Dude, he was just like your boy, man. You miss some notes up on his shit, you gone, man.
Kick him out. Huh?
Yeah, he used a lot of good session players for all his albums.
I've always enjoyed his music.
Yeah, Donald Fagen, man. I love Donald Fagen, man.
I think they're closed.
You know, there's another guy. There's a guy that's out now in a guy named Pete Belasco. And you should check him out, man. He got a cut called The Love Train.
When you were talking about Boss Skaggs, it's the same thing, man. Boss Skaggs got one of them goddamn badass voices, man.
Yep. Michael Bolden.
And when Bobby Caldwell comes out with that song, he says, "I guess you wonder where I've been." I mean, from there on, he had you from
that. Don't ask my neighbor.
Yeah.
If you read the comments, it always says, "And which one of y'all sisters is getting his plate at the barbecue?" That shit always cracked me up when I go down the comments. They always put that on there.
I got one for you, man. Al Jarreau.
Oh yeah. Damn, Al Jarreau. I didn't even think of him.
So Al, the other day, remember when I came in the chat and I said, "Can you woo woo woo?" My wife started saying that all day, and then looked up the. I was like, "You don't even know where that's from," and she was like, "I do know where it was from." So I was like, "Hold on, we'll bring up the video," and I brought up Jeffrey Osborne, and she was like. And she started playing it at work, and none of her coworkers, none of them knew who Jeffrey Osborne was.
Yeah, I just watched him in a video. I put a video out.
Yeah, I was like,
talking to Al.
I was like, you guys don't even know. I was like, these people don't know what you're singing. She was like, I don't know. I was just trying to say it. And then they thought she made it up. I was like, you didn't make that up. You don't even know what you're talking.
Yeah, man, Jeffrey Osborne, that song he just sings effortless and it belts, you know what I mean? It's just he has a hell of a voice, man.
Yeah. And it was funny because I remember for a long time I loved Jeffrey Osborne. Then I was like, listening to music, I'm like, wait, he the lead singer LTD.
LTD, yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going through my records. I'm
like, he's lead singer in Back in Love Again.
LTD too. That was just me being young, you know.
That's like the Gap Band, man. I love the Gap Band. That's what I mean, that was the skating ring songs, the Daz Band, and all that.
Dun, 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 dun. Girl, you knock me up.
Not now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's my boys right there. They are way at the top of my list.
Yes, sir.
Burn Rubber on Me when they come out with the motorcycle. I mean the car motorcycle burning. That song, man, shit. That just everybody skates to that.
It's crazy though because the singer Ty Dolla $ign, his dad is in Lakeside. His dad is one of Lakeside.
What?
Yeah.
Damn! No way. Another group I love. But how can that be?
You know the story. Go ahead.
I got one. Bill Withers.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he passed away earlier.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what other good girl group we didn't talk about was Climax. They were damn good.
Yeah, we said Climax.
Yeah, we mentioned them.
We didn't
I might have been when I would have.
Yeah.
You
have
probably
my-
was going to get the shirt. You probably going to get the shirt then. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Got a meeting in the ladies' room.
Yeah.
Meeting in a
Oh,
But-
I liked it because they
Matt,
played
it was
too.
Joyce Irby. Matt, Joyce Irby.
What song? You know?
For Climax. Remember I said she made.
Oh yeah. That's who it was. That's who you were talking about. Yeah,
Joyce
yeah,
Irby. Yeah.
yeah. Gotcha.
Do you know what I don't like is when groups split up and there's two groups that's torn.
Yeah.
With one lead singer got the rights, or the other singer said, we're gonna use the name, or they can't use the name because they don't own it, and then they gotta use another name, and it's like
New Edition.
They do that in rock groups.
New
Always
Edition
have that shit
it
happen.
can only be Johnny Gill. Johnny Gill owns the name New Edition, so it's him
Yep.
and Ralph Tresvant. That's it. Nobody else.
Well, they were too busy arguing about who gonna lead sing, so they said, "Well, I tell you what, since y'all worried about that, we'll just take the name. That we'll do that."
Yeah, but they was the two main ones arguing over who was going to be the lead singer. So they just kept
But
it.
they got the best of all, and they don't really realize it, man. There's enough
Yeah.
songs to go around.
Well, at that time, record labels really wanted to push Ralph. Whereas that's why Bobby had problems with the group, because Ralph was getting all the leads and Bobby was playing second fiddle, and Bobby did not like that. And he was causing all types of problems.
I bet you remember this group, Sean, the Force MDs.
Oh,
MDs,
man.
Tender Love, they say.
Oh, man. I posted for some D's on Old School Sunday. It's a shame I can't do that no more.
I surrender. Candles lit like the dark.
Oh, man.
Yeah, boy. Hey, man.
Leave it alone.
Love is a house.
Love is a house. You got the key.
Hold up.
You got
I got one for y'all though. Remember when they did the collaboration with the
The Fat Boys, yes.
Boys?
And I love the Fat Boys, man.
Hey, Sean,
Man, I love that right there,
Yeah,
boy.
Juicy Fruit earlier. That's another song I listened to, and I
Yeah.
always liked it. But now that I haven't heard in a while, I was like, man, this song is good as hell, man. I don't know why. I didn't know who sang it. I didn't know that how you
Tuneman.
get their name.
And
'Cause
Tuneman.
always- But you couldn't even sing that song on the radio now. They can only sing that, man. Lick me up and down.
They censored that stuff out, like the whole "Lick Me Like a Lollipop" and all that stuff. They censored that out.
They damn sure could play Clarence Carter.
Oh,
yo. That my dad. That was my
yo,
dad, too.
you remember them crazy ass covers by Millie Jackson?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Like when she was on the toilet taking a shit,
Yeah.
with her panties around her ankles and stuff. I was like,
With a
intrigued.
constipated look.
With some high heels.
Man, I'm like, okay, all right, Millie, you out there.
Billy had on some stiletto high heels or some stripper high heels with some.
Yeah, she was the first one to really go raw with her material.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, like you listen to her stuff, like yo, this woman was way ahead of her time. Like we talk about Lil' Kim and all that stuff, talking about sexual stuff. Millie Jackson was doing that stuff.
Matt, you got some Ben and Jerry's over there?
Yes, sir, my boy.
Hey, Rima, you could almost do this show like we do the Johnson show. You could have your 5 favorite groups, your 5 solo acts, your 5 girls, in 80s, then 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever, man. You could do it. You could do that.
Yeah.
Because man,
So
you'll
y'all
have to do some you'll have some picking to go through. It'd be so hard, boy.
Yeah.
Hey, so how about we do that off the top, like freestyle, just whoever comes to mind. So I guess I'll start.
All right.
So as far as old school, I'm sorry, I was just eating an atomic fireball. It was delicious. But I'm going to go with Midnight Star. I'm going to go with Atlantic Star as far as like funk and R&B. I'm going to have to go with The Whispers. Gap Band. And number 5 is probably going to be. Damn, that's gonna be hard.
It's the same, man.
Hey, you get to the last one. It's like, God.
Get to my last one, and you like, man, I don't want it to end.
I'm gonna have to say Daz Band because they got a few joints, man, that I really love. So
you just hit on 2 of mine, the Daz Band and the Gap Band. They end for sure.
like that whip it song, man. It's just, oh God, that song is like every time I hear that song, y'all want to see me dance, just throw that song on, man. I'm gonna go to town. But
that's the national song for HBCU for major eds.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm
Which
just
one is that?
So what now, Big Remo?
It's about whip
Which
it.
one is
Oh yeah.
the HBCU? Which one?
I was just being facetious. I said that's the song for
You
major eds.
gotta see the video where they do that. They do that whip, man. When they're doing that, man.
Yeah.
Up, man.
Hey, so I will go like Earth, Wind, and Fire is automatic.
Yeah.
Fire's got to be on my list too.
Hey, they got to be on my list. And Steve brought them earlier, but I love me some Force MDs. That's one of my favorite groups. I'm gonna go Cameo. Cameo's another one. Like, just drop nuclear bombs of hits, you know. And then yeah. Then I'm gonna go with a early '90s one that I love, and that's Troop. Troop put out probably the best cover of a Jackson song, and that shit sticks with you. Like, I like the Jackson's version, but Troop just came and damn near blew theirs away. That's
That what you're supposed to do.
Man, I gotta have Lakeside on my shit no matter what.
Yeah.
They got to be on there.
I gotta have Frankie Hayes on there. I gotta have Cameo. I gotta have Confunction.
I forgot about Earth, Wind, and Fire too, man. I don't have to change my list.
They got too many songs to pass up. They got to be like number
Isley Brothers.
Oh
yeah,
my God.
that's my other
too.
list. Isley Brothers on there for me.
Yeah.
That's my 5th group.
Who's that lady? Who's that lady?
Hey, Brothers Johnson, Strawberry 23. They got another good, like their third biggest hit, man. That song, man, when they're playing, he played the hell out of the bass on that song. I can't think of the name of it, but I know it ain't. I know it ain't Strawberry Letter 23, and it ain't.
Is it Stomp? Oh, it's not Stomp. Okay.
No, it's not those 2 main ones. It's like the third, man. They was throwing down on that song, man. Because once I get on a group and they list all the other songs, man, I just start going right down the list. And I'm like, damn, I didn't even know they sang this song. That's how you get songs you ain't heard in a while.
I know I like Ain't We Funkin' Now. So, Steve, what's yours?
Earth, Wind, and Fire, they number 1. Because, I mean, I did get to see them right before Maurice White passed away, but he wasn't singing the songs I knew that he sang, so I knew something was wrong. But his brother came out there, man, and he tore that shit up. He was nonstop jamming with that damn bass the whole time, man. I
guess that's what keeps him young. You know, he's going out there and performing at his age.
Years old or something. And I mean to tell you, man, I'm talking, he was back and forth the whole time, man. They put on a hell of a show. I'll never forget it. Yeah, they'd be number 1. I gotta have the Gap Band and the Daz Band on it because that was my boys when they played that at the skating. You know, I still go skating every Wednesday. Me and my wife, we still go. Say hey. Hey, she's the one that's into the comic stuff. She likes to read that stuff. Yeah. Awesome. She wants me to come watch the band DeLorean. That's why she's in here.
Oh yeah. I gotta go watch that.
I'm coming. Okay.
And then go watch that too.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. But yeah, Steve, finish your 5.
They got me a shirt. Yeah, so I've got them 2. God, man.
I know you said Lakeside.
Lakeside's in there. And my last one, man, I'm going to have to go with Roger and Zapp because, man, they had so many.
Oh, man.
Hey, man.
I forgot about them, too.
Grapevine.
My wife loves your list, Steve.
Yeah, man.
I forgot about them, too.
I know, man. I was like, I love me some Roger and Zapp.
And Roger has so many songs, man. So many good songs. Ah, man.
Computer Love is my shit.
Computer
That's
Love,
like,
yeah.
I want to be your man. I wanna be your man.
Yeah, he did.
Oh man.
Man.
All that.
Hey, lady,
More.
let me
Yeah.
tell you why
I
I can't live my life.
I did not get to put on Brick. I wanted to put them in there.
Yeah.
All right, so Matt, you want to name off your list?
Yeah, I'm going number 1, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Number 2, the Gap Band. Number 3, Cameo. Number 4, the Isley Brothers. And number 5 is probably gonna be SOS Band.
Nice.
He meant all them
That's
lists.
a strong, tight list.
Get them
Yeah.
lists right there. All them lists. All
That's
fire.
bangers, all of them.
Yeah, man.
The finest.
Yeah, like Earth, Wind, and Fire will be on my top 5. Yeah, on the
Hey
top.
man, I'm gonna play that when we go off the album.
Yeah, man, the finest.
SOS.
All right, Remo.
So I'm gonna take the consensus and I'm gonna put Earth, Wind, and Fire on there. I'm gonna say Confunction. I'm gonna say SOS Band, Isley Brothers. I think rounding it out would probably be Frankie Beverly and Maze. That'll keep it like, you know, I can say, okay, those albums right there. If I could only pick 5 albums I knew I could only listen to, that would kind of.
I was gonna bust out that SOS. Just be good to me.
I love that song too, man.
Yeah, that's a good.
Damn, man. See, I'm the only. I had my odd choice was Troop, but I really love Troop, man. Like, Spread My Wings and All I Do Is Think of You, and then even the second album I really love, man.
And then Troop is Hit Boy, the producer.
Yeah,
Those are all his uncles.
yeah. That I had to throw a New Jack Swing in there, man. Even though I love me some Guy, but that Troop album was just fantastic, man.
Hell, you
That
can show.
I never forget that song, Sean, because we was in an elevator one time. We were going out of town to do a job. In the elevator, we was in there, and we was all. That was on. We had just seen that, and they played that on the radio, and we got in the thing, and I was singing, "You could New Jack Swing from my nuts." And hey, I said that, and the elevator opened up, and it was a lady there, and I said, "You could swing New Jack Swing from my nuts," and that lady went,
Oh no!
"Here, boy."
Yo, exactly.
Hey man, everybody else was on the ground laughing. I was the only one standing there. They were crying on the ground. Man.
That's that Ice Cube right there. You can New Jack Swing on my nuts.
And my wife said I forgot to mention intro.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Surface. Update Surface. Y'all remember Surface?
Yeah, Surface too, man. Like it's so hard thinking of doing the top 5 list, and then you run a group by like, I forgot about them.
Yeah, be able to go.
Man, the OJs and Forever Mine. I love that song, man. I want to just put them on the list just because of that one song for damn sure. That's my one we get to throw in there, right, Remo? Our consolation.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's.
Oh shit, you got that open part, man. Only you can make me happy.
Man, you can play certain songs and be like, yeah, I know what that is. So
like I wanted to put the Barcades on there because they got a lot of badass.
That's what I'm saying. 5 is hard.
It's hard, man. We need a top 10 for that shit, no doubt.
That's why I don't know how y'all do it on the Johnson Show, Steve, man, with top 5 football players. It's like,
because I'm thinking what's Remo gonna put, what's D gonna put, what they gonna. I'm trying to get.
And it's like if you want to try and pick something so that somebody else don't have it, so it's different.
Yeah.
It's hard, man.
Man, that Barcades, bro. That Barcades is rough,
Anybody
man.
from the 49ers or the Lions, I got to be very careful because I might my pick might get taken right off the bat.
Hey, Steve. That Barcades used to be rough, man. Yeah, she talked to me with her body, man. I love that shit.
Yeah, and you remember the one, Matt, where they came in and the girl put the glasses on and then she could get in the club and they was all dancing. God damn, what was the name of that song? Freak Show on the Dance Floor. Yeah. I like Do It. You remember Do It?
Yeah.
Yep.
That was a damn song. And another one that people don't was Freaky Behavior. You remember that one? That
I
one.
started listening to Barcades as I got older, man. My uncle would not let me listen to that shit when I was young. He was like, "Oh, no, you can't listen to it."
Hey, Barcades joystick, right? Joystick?
Joystick's Daz Band, I think.
Is it jazz band? I thought it was.
Yeah, that's Dash Band.
The
Jazz
Daz
band.
Band. Boy, the Daz Band was good, man.
Yeah.
What's up, JoJo?
Midnight Star.
Oh yeah, Midnight Star.
Midnight Star.
Yeah, hey, Al, you would have loved that concert I went to, man. That Midnight Star opened up, and then the main ones was Roger and Zapp. But there was a bunch of groups in between that were good as hell too.
Yeah.
So, Matt don't disappear.
It was funny you mentioned Midnight Star because I had just clicked on the song. I said, man, I'm gonna listen to some Midnight Star when you said that. So that was like perfect. Man, it's so much, man. I'm telling you, man, it's so much good music. It's really hard trying to narrow down. Unless you're a diehard fan of a particular artist, it's really hard to just say, well, because you know.
He said
no. Al, let me tell y'all. When I hear that shit, there's a story behind that. I used to be assistant manager at Shoe Carnival back in the day. And so every day I would come to work, they have on bullshit music. And so I would go and I would go flip it over to the R&B. And that damn song played every fucking time. And I used to dance in the motherfucking aisles of that store when that shit came on, man.
You talking about no parking on the dance floor?
No parking on the dance floor, man. I have a box of New Balances in my hand going to the restroom. No parking on the dance floor. I'm sorry.
Man, I love Midnight Star, man. They had some bangers too, man. But
hey, Sean, you remember High Five?
Oh yeah.
Damn, that's another one.
Even that song, I love that song, man. It was a slow song, it was a little kid song, but I liked it.
Oh, High Five was a joint.
High Five was
He playing hard to get, and the kissing song.
Yeah.
That was all Teddy Riley, man. He did his thing on that album.
Yep.
Yeah.
The floater.
Float on.
The float on. I love when they talk at the end.
Oh yeah, I love that song. Y'all talk with Larry on the hall. That's Larry's song right there.
Hey, Al, yeah, at the end when he says, "My name is Larry. If you like to take long weeds, then take my hand."
Yeah, delegation. Y'all talking about delegation.
Oh, shit.
All right, man. I got to roll.
I gotta dip out too, man. I gotta go get.
Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and end the broadcast right here. Yo, this was fun. I'm glad we finally was able to get together and do this show. And it was great going through these musics and vinyls and all that stuff. So
we're gonna have to coordinate it and get everybody's schedule so we can do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and do the third hip hop show because TiVo came on. I'm glad TiVo agreed to come on because he came on and dropped all the knowledge too, man.
Yeah.
So
and I didn't even know, man. We came from the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
See, that's the beauty of getting new people involved, and you find out, hey, we in the same neighborhood, same backwoods. So
like literally, his brother lives like a mile from me. You know what I'm saying?
So hey, that's a future meetup.
Yeah, definitely, right?
So with that in mind, everybody, thanks for showing up in the chat. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope y'all on YouTube right now looking up all the great music that we talked about today. So peace out, enjoy the weekend, and make sure y'all tune in tomorrow, chatting with the comic community. We talking greatest fight scenes in movies.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Peace out, y'all.
Well, I got some work to do.
Right.